Now, My 40 Sports presents Bojangles Friday Night Rivals. The Rabun Gap Eagles versus the Christ School Greenies.
Our annual visit to Christ School. It comes a little earlier in the campaign. In fact, we open the North Carolina portion of our schedule tonight. And we welcome you to Bojangles Friday Night Rivals alongside my broadcast partner, Tom Ben Hoy, Jason Patterson here. And Tom, really is one of the stories. This is an important football game happening very early in the season.
Yeah, it's hard to believe this is actually a conference game and has a lot to do with seedings at the end. So even though you're jumping right back into it, Rabun Gap's already played 2 games and 1 for Christ School.
2 teams used to competing for their championship, and they expect to do that again this year.
Well, they do, and Rabun Gap coming off a 13-1 season a year ago. They lost the championship game to Providence Day, and it's Christ School that won a championship in 2020. They have been second 9 times. They know how to win as well.
Another thing you watch in this one, the coaching storylines. A couple of guys beginning to really get their fingerprints on these 2 respective programs.
Yeah, Derek White for Rabun Gap had great success. He's a career guy. He's been in his 3rd year. They want to compete for championships. You know about Chad Walker coming in about 4 years ago and trying to build that program back up to a championship level.
One thing you know when you get these 2 teams together, there will be playmakers all over the field. In fact, we will be talking all night about the Power 4 offers. They're existent up and down both rosters.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing when we get into that about the number of players at this level in this game. They're going to have a chance to play at the collegiate level, not only Power 5 FCS as well as Division II. So a lot of young men are going to be playing on Saturdays as well next year.
Yeah, you're going to see them on Friday. They'll make their living on Saturdays. What in your mind are the things to watch early in this contest before we check in with Nelson?
Well, Rabun Gap a week ago lost a ball game, which is a rarity, and they need to respond to that, see how they do. And, you know, from Christ School standpoint, they need a little bit more discipline. They did come off a good win over Eastburg, 26-0, but just play their game.
So it is a pivotal early season contest between these 2 very familiar foes across state lines. This battle takes place, and we're happy to have you with us on Bojangles Friday Night Rivals here in Western North Carolina. Time to check in with the 3rd member of our broadcast team. For more on tonight's matchup, here is Nelson Weston.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Jason. And for those of y'all tuning in at home, welcome to Week 2 of Friday Night Rivals. I'm Nelson Weston. Well, folks, to kick off a brand new season last week of FNR, we had an amazing matchup. Well, tonight we're in for yet another remarkable matchup. It will be the Christ School Greenies versus the Rabun Gap Eagles. Now, the Greenies, who are the home team here this evening, coming off of what was a 26-0 blowout victory last week, they're seeking to capitalize on that momentum and carry their team to a 2-0 record by night's end. This team is comprised of all-conference players, all-state players, and yes, they even possess star quarterback Mason Holtzclaw, who has been named as one of the 2027 top 5 QBs in the nation. Now, on the other side of the ball, though, they're going up against a juggernaut of a team, the Rabun Gap Eagles. Now, fun fact, folks, the Eagles, for them, this is actually not Game 2, but this is Game 3. They secured the win in Game 1, but coming off of a defeat last week for Game 2, they're seeking to rebound by night's end and go up 2-1. This team, for anyone who knows about Eagles history, they know that this team does, in fact, have all-state players. They went 14-1 last season, and yes, they were even the Western Athletic Conference champions in 2023. So bottom line, folks, this is going to be a remarkable matchup. You don't want to miss it. As we take a look around behind me, the field is all set. We are ready to go. Bottom line, folks, with a 7 o'clock p.m. kickoff, Friday Night Rivals is back. You wanted it, you got it. Football season has finally commenced. Tom, Jason, back to you guys.
Music to our ears. It is more football tonight. We're glad to have you with us on Bojangles Friday Night Rivals, and the pregame show rolls on right after this.
Welcome back to Friday Night Rivals here on the Bojangles pregame show. Well, folks, we're still seated here on the gorgeous campus of Christ School, and this afternoon we are joined by none other than the head of the school, Mr. Sean Jenkins. Mr. Jenkins, nice to have you today, sir.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Welcome back to Christ School's campus.
And speaking of welcoming back, we do appreciate the welcome back on behalf of the Christ School. So thank you, sir.
Yes.
All right. So let's talk football, shall we? What are your thoughts on tonight's game?
Tough matchup, home opener for us. It's going to be a rowdy student section. I think our team's ready to go. Excited to play in front of the home crowd. We have a very big, deep, strong offensive line.
Nice.
Looking forward to getting a push from them. Outstanding quarterback and kicker, and then our defense likes to attack. So I think the Greenies are going to be ready to show up and fight hard.
So go Greenies indeed then.
Yes, sir.
All righty. Now, Mr. Head of School, let's talk about your tenure here. How long have you been here and what brought you here in the first place?
It's my 4th year at Christ School. My family and I moved from Charlottesville, Virginia, where we were at the university for 17 years,
Nice.
at the University of Virginia. What brought us here? The ability to just be in service to a wonderful school community. It's all about the development of boys into men.
Sounds wonderful. Now, let's talk about the development of boys and the men. I gather there is a major initiative going on right now at Christ School. What's that all about?
Well, it's our 125th birthday. Christ School was created in 1900. And so for us to be open this year with the most boys that we've ever had, 308 students from 17 states and 11 countries.
Nice.
It's a long year of celebrating our history, our traditions, and the wonderful education that's happening here.
So in addition to that year-long initiative, this sounds like a year-long sense of accomplishment as well. Is that what I'm hearing right now?
Yeah, I think that's right. We're really proud of the faculty and staff, how dedicated they are. The majority of our faculty and staff live on campus, and it's really the calling for them to be on campus with their families, teaching, mentoring, and advising our boys.
That all sounds terrific indeed. Well, once again, on behalf of my 40 and Friday Night Rivals, I want to thank you for allowing us to be here today.
It's a pleasure. Thanks so much. God bless and go green.
All right, go green indeed. We'll be back in just a moment, folks. Welcome back to Friday Night Rivals here on the Bojangles pregame show. Well, folks, going back to the good old days of high school, we all remember that one special teacher who left a lasting impression on each and every one of us. Today, we are honored to sit down with the Teacher of the Year here at Christ School, Mr. William Ballinger. Mr. Ballinger, good to have you on the show today, sir.
Thank you, Nelson. Thank you very much.
Of course. And congratulations on the win as well.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a tremendous honor. It really, really is. I was very, very touched. I got choked up in chapel when it was announced.
Oh, yeah? Now, unpack that for me. What was that moment like? Walk me through it.
Well, it was very special. This is my third year now, so it was the end of my second year. And, yeah, it was really a surprise, and I felt very flattered and honored and there's so many talented people here. I can't believe it happened. So thank you. Really, it's really heartfelt.
Sounds like a terrific surprise. I like that. So, Mr. Ballinger, for the sake of clarity, what all do you teach?
I teach this year AP European History, which is new to Christ School, and in the past 2 years here I've taught World History.
Okay. Now, what brought you here in the first place?
Yeah, my wife and I actually were living in the Middle East. We came from Jordan. It was an amazing 5 years there. We knew we weren't going to live there, but North Carolina seemed like such a great area. Asheville's a beautiful area. We love the outdoors. The Appalachian Trail isn't too far away. This is God's country here. It's amazing.
That does sound amazing. I like that. We don't get anybody from the Middle East on this show too often, so yeah, that's a new one.
No.
Now, I have to ask you, as the proud Teacher of the Year, what are some of those key life lessons and values that you instill in each and every one of your students?
Well, what I hope to impart to students is really a fundamental love of history, but the key thing is that they try to see a connection to history, that they don't just think of these as names and dates that are random that they have to memorize for a test. That's not going to do much good. But to just see the parallels about what we learn in the past, and we can learn from the mistakes in the past, and hopefully apply that later on in life. I think a lot of kids struggle at this age to see and appreciate history, but when they get to be old like me, I think all of a sudden they're like, oh, I see why we learn this stuff. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Ballinger, I want to thank you for taking the time to speak with us here today, and congratulations once again.
Thank you, Nelson.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be back in just a moment.
Friday Night Rivals Scholar Athlete, brought to you by Arby's.
Welcome back to Friday Night Rivals here on the Bojangles Pregame Show. Well, folks, throughout the course of the Friday Night Rivals season, we will feature 2 Scholar Athlete winners per week. These Arby's Scholar Athlete winners are eligible to receive a $5,000 scholarship. This afternoon, we are joined by the Christ School Scholar Athlete winner, Mr. Dawson Thompson. Dawson, good to have you here today, my man.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, congratulations on the win as well, buddy.
Thank you.
Now, Dawson, I gather you have a bad boy 4.0 GPA. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Talk to us about your additional academic accomplishments.
I am a member of the National Honor Society, taking multiple APs and honors courses throughout my time at Christ School.
Nice. Now, what are some of your post-high school plans?
I plan on going to university to play football, and then I plan on working for the NFL in some way or form, whether that be scouting, business, some sort of way.
Big goals and big dreams.
Yes,
I respect that, my man.
Thank you.
Let's talk specifically about football, though. I gather you are both a football star and a track star. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
How long have you played both of those sports? And, of course, what position do you play in football?
This will be my 3rd year playing varsity football, and then track, this will be my 3rd year as well playing track. I throw in track, I throw the discus and shot put, and then in football, I am a right tackle. I play defensive end.
Very impressive indeed. I like that. Now, I gather you're also pretty involved in your community, too. Is that right?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Let's talk about that.
So back home in the Bahamas, I volunteer every summer for a local camp. They do sports, sailing, a bunch of different stuff. So it's very fun. I love helping out my community back home.
And very briefly, why would you be the perfect recipient of the aforementioned $5,000 scholarship, Dawson?
I think my work in the community my accomplishments on the field really show my character and who I am, and I would really love to use that money to help further my education.
Very noble indeed. Well, Dawson, once again, you are our Arby's Scholar Athlete winner for this week. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Arby's, we have the meats. We'll be back in just a moment.
It's time for the Carolina Furniture Concepts Coaches Corner. Coach Chad Walker in his 4th season here at Christ School. First of all, we always say thank you for having us.
No, I appreciate you guys being here tonight.
Very important early season game. You know, all of them count, all of them matter, but this is a big one to circle, and it's early in the year, Coach.
Absolutely. You know, having a conference game this early, especially against a team and a program like Rabun Gap, a lot on the line tonight.
4 years into your tenure, we mentioned that. Talk about where the program is versus where you hoped it would be at this juncture, Coach.
Yeah, I mean, this year we started with the highest numbers in program history. 74 kids signed up for football this year, which has been great. But really it's been about the culture we've been trying to build over the last 4 years, and we really feel like the culture of our program, the senior leadership, and even our underclassmen that have taken on that leadership role are really where we want them to be right now.
Number of new faces, but that leadership has been there. Talk a little bit about how this group has come together. What have you seen in them that gives you hope for the remainder of the season?
Yeah, they seem like a really tight-knit group. A lot of new faces, but they blended it right in with all of our returning kids. And, you know, we did a lot of team building exercises throughout preseason. And really this team seems to have gelled quicker than most in my time here. And like I said before, you know, we feel like we're at a point this year already where we were about week 5 or week 6 last year.
Championship's always the expectation, which speaks to where your program really is. Let's talk about the other sideline right now. When you look across, what concerns you coming into tonight?
I mean, a really good team. You look at their defense, there's really no gaps in their defense. All 11 guys and then some. Really good football players, high-level prospects. We just have to really control what we can, going against them. They're big up front, probably the best front seven we'll see all season long. And it's really a challenge to our offensive line tonight and to our, running backs, and how can we protect our quarterback and do some things offensively. And then, you switch sides of the ball. They have a senior quarterback who's really good, makes a lot of big plays. They've got a lot of speed to skill positions, and then, very big up front as well. We just have talked all week long that we've got to play disciplined football.
That's what it comes down to. Thanks for your time, Coach, and we appreciate you having us.
No, I appreciate you guys again.
Much more to learn about these two teams in the pregame show, and kickoff is ever fast approaching. Thanks for joining us on Bojangles Friday Night Rivals. The Earl Scruggs Music Festival is this weekend at Tryon International Equestrian Center. All the way through September 1st, this three-day event features performances from some of the most talented musicians in the bluegrass world. It is hosted by Jerry Douglas, and the 2024 lineup is one you will not want to miss, including Old Crow Medicine Show and Tanya Tucker. Visit EarlScruggsMusicFest.com or scan the code to purchase tickets today.
Back on the coaches' quarter, Derek White of Rabun Gap, and coach your team off to a 1-1 start. How have you played overall so far this year?
In spurts. We played well the first game. The second game didn't play too well. It'll be interesting to see how we play tonight.
Yeah, coming off an outstanding season a year ago, you played for a championship. A lot of guys coming back, high expectations.
Always in our program. We're going to always have high expectations every year. We want to win the last one we play.
Talk about your offense led by a veteran quarterback.
Yeah, Gavin, 2-year starter for us. In his third year as a junior. He kind of commands us, hoping he can have a big night tonight.
You like to be a little balanced, like run and pass it?
Well, me as an old defensive guy, I like to always run the football because you got to run the football to win. But, we throw it around pretty good. It's going to be kind of what they allow us to do tonight. That's what we'll do.
Yeah, you got a good running back. You got some guys out on the edge, but tell us a little bit about your offensive line. You're big across the front.
Yeah, really good up front. Got one senior in the group. The rest are a little bit young. We have a couple guys out tonight on the offensive line, so we're going to kind of see. Got a couple 10th graders playing tonight, so we're going to have to weather the storm a little bit, and they're going to grow up tonight.
Well, you played on a Sunday afternoon. Quick turnaround for you. How'd it go this week?
Monday was okay, a little flat. Tuesday, as the week got better, we had a little more energy. We got a little bit better, so it'll be interesting to see what we play on Friday night.
We talked to you a little bit earlier this week, and you wanted to respond to the ball game, the last one you had.
Yeah, we just want to play better. We didn't feel like we were clean and didn't do a lot of things well, and hoping this week we can just clean those up and play well.
How have you been on the defensive side? What are your expectations over there this year?
Defense, that should be one of our better units. A lot of older guys on that. They've been in our program for 3 and 4 years. We feel really good every time we play with them on the field. What
are your thoughts about the matchup tonight?
Oh, we got to play tough. Anytime that some people say it's a rivalry, we play a lot. We played twice last year. We know each other pretty well. We just got to kind of settle down. This is our first Friday night game. We played on a Saturday and a Sunday, so just settle in, let the game come, and see where we can be. They're a very good football team.
Coach, as always, thank you for your time. Good luck tonight.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
We'll continue with our pregame show here in just a moment.
Now, My 40 Sports presents Bojangles Friday Night Rivals. The Rabun Gap Eagles versus the Christ School Greenies.
Just about ready for football in this one between Christ School and Rabun Gap. High-profile players will adorn the field, and you will see one of the great rivalries among the independent schools. This one, a conference contest that should have ramifications on down the line. With that, we welcome you back in alongside my broadcast partner, Tom Van Hoy. Jason Patterson, always a pleasure to have you with us. And, Tom, now we're down to crunch time between these two in what is a critical early season W on the line.
Yeah, it's an early conference game, and seeding's on the line at the end of the year. We know how important that is. You take a look at Rabun Gap last year, and they had the opportunity to play, and they got to the championship game. Christ School got in, but they got beat early.
More than bragging rights, this is an opportunity to continue to impress the powers that be around the country because there are aspirations beyond Fridays up and down these rosters.
Yeah, you take a look at these two teams historically, and it's a Christ School team that won a championship in 2020. They need to get back to that, and it's a Rabun Gap team that wants to play for championships every year.
With all those playmakers, so many of them you will see in Power 4 football moving forward. Tonight, a chance to make your name, and Tom, we've seen it so often come down to just who's going to make the play at the end.
Well, it is. You don't want to turn the football over. That's a coach speak, so to speak. And then you've got Rabun Gap, a team that wants to bounce back from a loss, and you've got a Christ School team that wants to get on the winning side.
Well, we're ready for it. Football is next on Bojangles Friday Night Rivals.
The Greenies have taken the field. We welcome you back to Christ School, getting ready for a little football action, a pivotal early season conference contest taking place in this beautiful setting. Tom, let's dive right into our Hyundai of Asheville keys to the game.
Well, you're talking about for Christ School discipline. They had a few problems last week with some penalties and so forth. And just do your job. Don't try to get outside yourself. You're looking at Rabun Gap response. They haven't lost in a long time. They did last week to Baylor 21-14. How can they bounce back? A Sunday game, in fact, and red zone scoring. They had opportunities last week. 7 times they got within the 30-yard line. They didn't score.
Tonight's keys to the game, sponsored by Hyundai of Asheville. As Tom has brought them to you, with that, we're just about ready for football. Tom mentioned it. This team visiting from across the state line in Georgia played on Sunday, so it was a short week. Many of you saw that on ESPN, back-to-back television games for a program that Coach White told us he's trying to build into a national brand. Safe to say last year helped with that. Just 3 years in, they're already one of the top 100 teams as ranked nationally.
And I'll tell you what, they are loaded as we get into the broadcast tonight with players from the United States, internationally, both teams. Interesting matchup tonight.
Yeah, playmakers abound, but it's about more than just what's going to happen on Saturday in their futures on this night. It's about the pursuit of a championship in North Carolina. With that, we are underway in Arden, North Carolina. Happy to have you with us on Bojangles Friday Night Rivals. This one, as will be the case probably more often than not for both of these kickers, through the end zone. Outstanding legs on display in this one tonight as well. Through the end zone, so a touchback, and we get our first look. Now, we'll do our best to keep you straight, but we make no promises. Both these teams very similar in their color schemes. A lot of green on the field, though to some degree, the visiting uniforms for Rabun Gap looking more like their head coach's former stop there at Vandy with that gold look tonight. So that helps us know Christ School in the green for you in this one. And appropriately named, the Greenies go to work under the direction of their quarterback, Mason Holtzclaw. He takes the snap. Familiar name to you by now. One of the great quarterbacks when you talk about prospects. In fact, you talk about national rankings. He's top 5 nationally in the class of 2027, Tom.
Yeah, highly respected big guy. Baptism under football fire last year as a freshman. 14 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Played very well down the stretch.
Started as a freshman, as Tom told you. Still in that spot as a sophomore, and he'll be playing ACC, SEC type Power 4 football in his future if all goes well in the balance of his high school career. But leading his group to an important first series tonight in a key conference contest as these two combatants out of NCISAA Division I collide. First look on the ground, plenty of room there for Jackson Cancel. And he finds his way across the 30. You hear how they love it here. Always great energy in this stadium, Tom. And Jackson Cancel gives him something to cheer about.
Man, I mean, a tough run, some yards after contact, has to make that nice cut, puts the head down, powers up, stretches out, and up for first down, getting a chance to play this year after sitting behind last year.
Yeah, limited action a year ago, but 80 yards last week, and off to a good start here for a guy who they call a natural leader. You know, this is a team lost 17 off last year's roster, and looking for those that are going to step up and fill those gaps. He's certainly one of them. Well, a little bit of a gap in that opening group on the Rabun Gap side of things, and going to be good for about 3 yards. Well, it looks like it's going to be more like 4 or 5 once they give him the forward progress all the way to the 35-yard line. Stop made by David McConzo. That's a game you'll get to know, or name you'll get to know in this game before we are done. Among the many, they talk about the linebacking group and the secondary group being the strength of this defense to the Rabun Gap coaches.
And they are going to be good this year. They were outstanding last year, and a lot of these young men returned from a year ago.
Now, the Greenies hoping to get into that linebacking core and secondary regularly like they did there, with half of it nearly secured on first down. This is going to help. Penalty flag, and that's going to back up the Greenies just a little bit. So that'll help that defense erase the memory of what just happened, as this will take it back to the 30. We're right about where we started after the fresh set of downs. Here's a look at the movement.
Yeah, got to get that signal and get them set, and just took a little bit too long. Had to stay in that stance, and then once they shift in, the linebacker jumped up there. A little bit of movement up front.
Second down from behind the sticks for Holtzclaw. And the sophomore QB weighs his options, and he'll toss this out. There's Cancel. Going to elude the first group of tacklers back to where he was before the penalty. So it's going to be second down. Actually, going to get a little more this time before they finally wrestle him out of bounds. So Cancel able to set up a manageable scenario.
Yeah, just flip it out on the edge. He is a dual threat running back. He can pound it up inside. He had 28 catches a year ago, so he can do both of those. And, you know, good job there to get back what you lost and a little bit more and provide an opportunity on third down.
I thought he was more along the lines of where the sticks originally were. They brought the sticks all the way up near the marker, but it's been backed up now. That was a gain of maybe about half of it. So it's a long 5 that is needed by the Greenies here. Near side, and that may have been picked off. Did he hang on? Absolutely. It is going to be snatched away, taken right out of the sky by Aiden Horn, who comes away with the pick. Actually, check that. You see him bouncing away there as Owen Madden comes away with a pick on the Rabun Gap side of things. So Madden with the first defensive volley here.
And he read that, and look at that diving catch there. If he doesn't make it, there's an opportunity for a big play. But boy, look at the break on the ball there. And boy, a flat-out dive and horizontally makes that catch.
And you may hear a host of names. They run about 8 different players out there in the secondary, Tom. So get used to seeing a number of different names out of that secondary. The first to make his mark on this contest, Owen Madden with the pick. And that will give you an initial look at Gavin Owens, South Carolina kid, Wren kid, working his way over. Senior season now. He's got offers from all over the place. BC, Louisville, Kentucky. Listed as a 3-star athlete at the helm of this deal. One thing you notice about him, southpaw.
Yeah, he throws it, and he's coming back from a year ago where he had over 2,500 yards passing, only 6 interceptions. So they really like what they have on the offensive side.
Well, despite the outcome in the most recent contest, 300-plus yards in both games thus far for the QB, and we got a flag down before the initial play from scrimmage. So an early takeaway for Rabun Gap, the crew from Georgia, playing in the North Carolina Independent School Athletic Association. Right fit for them. They like being in there with the likes of Christ School, of course, Charlotte Christian, Charlotte Day, making up the group competing for a championship each year in this classification. Target far side, and that's in and out of the hands of C.J. Willingham. Well, Willingham, you're going to see it when he gets the football in his hands, is lightning fast. But the first thing is first time, and you got to catch the football. A little incompletion, and it's going to bring up second down and 10. When they get it to the junior, though, look out.
Yeah, I tell you, get it out of the edge, see if you can get one-on-one coverage, 10-6, 800 guy. This is a very interesting situation. We talked at the outset, some difficulties inside the 30 in the last ball game.
The drives were not a problem. Finishing those drives, we were told by the coaching staff they were. That's the reason it was one of your keys to the game. They will rely upon Anthony Quinn Jr. to do that. He gets this first carry. Greenies among them, Burns, who you saw, came over also across the state line to play here in North Carolina. And inside those two defenders, but just short of him, is C.J. Willingham. Willingham got back there again, but the pass this time a little short of his location.
Yeah, he was there. He was behind the linebackers in front of the secondary. Had a little bit of a seam there and just a little bit low and away and couldn't hang on. 2
attempts to get it to C.J. Willingham. The only positive yards coming on the Anthony Quinn Jr. carry. It is 4th down, but this is certainly prime territory after the turnover was forced by Rabun Gap. We'll see what the visiting unit can do on their first touch of the football. Freshly underway. Happy to have you with us on Bojangles Friday Night Rivals. These true rivals go at it, and that is zipped over the middle to the 15-yard line. Caught by Marshall Pritchett. Well, he is the North Carolina commitment that so many wanted to see in this game tonight. He had 45 offers, a 3-star tight end, but again, is headed to Chapel Hill, and he has his team in the First Bank red zone. They go quickly to Anthony Quinn Jr., right back to the ground game and around the 12-yard line. Big 4th down conversion to Marshall Pritchett there, Tom.
Yeah, it was. And they split him out that time. They listed him as a tight end, but you mentioned 6'6", 220. Coming off an outstanding season a year ago. A go-to guy there.
Outside. Finally getting it in the hands of C.J. Willingham. You see what happens when that connection is made. Touchdown, Eagles. It's the connection that Owens and Willingham were trying for on a couple of prior occasions, and it works out to put the crew from Rabun Gap out front.
They got it out on the edge there and got that blocking. Good job by the wide receivers out that way. I think it was Josh Buckholder and also Pritchett as well. The key out there is not to hold, and once he got on the corner there, forget it.
Well, the First Bank red zone opportunity cashed in. A United Federal Credit Union touchdown. All of our touchdowns tonight sponsored by United Federal Credit Union. There is the first of them. It puts Rabun Gap on the board. Did I mention the kickers are pretty special in this one? Straight up and through. As we work our way to break for the first time, Rabun Gap, an interception and capitalizing to take the early lead.
Music Festival is this weekend at Tryon International Equestrian Center. All the way through September 1st, this 3-day event features performances from some of the most talented musicians in the bluegrass world. It is hosted by Jerry Douglas, and the 2024 lineup is one you will not want to miss, including Old Crow Medicine Show and Tanya Tucker. Visit EarlScruggsMusicFest.com or scan the code to purchase tickets today.
Well, the kickoff going to be caught at the 26, and that's where the Greenies will take over after a 6-play, 33-yard march. The 4th down conversion, what really stands out in the minute 6 seconds that Rabun Gap had the football, and it was a 12-yard connection as they did make it C.J. Willingham scoring that first touchdown. Tom, nice work on the defensive side with the interception, and then they do cash in thanks to the 4th down conversion.
Yeah, that's a big play. You thought, you know, if Christ School can get a stop here, that wouldn't hurt them that much, but able to make that conversion on 4th down. Had some chances and dropped some balls, but able to finish it off there at the end.
They went to Marshall Pritchett, the North Carolina commit, on 4th down. That's the reason the drive continued. Greenies back to it here. What did you see from the Greenies on their opening drive?
Initially, they were able to get some yardage on the ground, and I think they wanted to control the football if they can. And then also they were able to mix up pass out of the side there, able to get Jackson Cancel involved in a couple of different ways. They did some pretty good things, but the INT really thwarted them at that point.
See if they can erase that memory as they go back to work with the second touch of the football, winding toward 8 minutes remaining in the opening quarter. These two teams knowing something about playing for championships in this classification and trying to put together that springboard moment as they go head-to-head earlier than usual. And it is swatted away. Boy, able to get the pursuit he had hoped for. Bo Paulson. You know, he's a North Carolina kid out of Franklin, North Carolina. And his first offer come in last week after some good work defensively already this year. And he takes the big right hand and says no thanks.
Yeah, he couldn't get there, and he kind of had the tackle on his inside. He's right-handed off that right side, 6'3", 220 of the senior, and able to make a nice play there.
Again, a Franklin, North Carolina kid, interestingly enough, doing the good work for the crew out of Georgia. Well, 1 of 4 with an interception. The beginning stages numbers for Mason Holtzclaw. Talented sophomore QB. Going up a year here in Arden. Taking a deep shot. Home fans wanted a flag as Zion Ikeem, the intended target, went to the turf, but it was deemed the contact was inconsequential as Corey Moss was on the coverage. Another of the members, the revolving door in that talented Rabun Gap secondary.
And taking a deep shot there down the sideline and just a little bit overthrown. Let him play.
Well, I told you the kickers were pretty good. Saw one a moment ago. Here's Spencer Thompson with your first look at the kicker, who also handles the punting responsibilities. They call him the Iceman. A couple of big punts, we were told by the coaching staff last week, that were timely for him, helped flip the field and made a difference for this squad. And he's not going to be able to do much with this. It is snapped over his head.
No.
Running out of trouble and deciding to just take the 2-point determination on the safety rather than have anything that would be further damage beyond that. He just tosses it out of the side of the end zone, and this was trouble from the get-go, Tom. And, you know, we were told by the Christ School people, they lost among the many that departed due to graduation a year ago. The long snapper, one of those. It was going to be a bit of a work in progress, and it rears its head early.
Yeah, that was a tough one. That was sailed way over his head. And I mean, I think that's a pretty good decision. Just go ahead and get on it. Take the safety. At least you get to kick it out of there from the 20-yard line versus, you know, if you're on the run there and you might have had to try to kick it left-footed or something, you know, would have given him maybe even better field position.
Yeah, the days of Caden Jones and Josh Harrington and, you know, the likes of Connolly and White, those days now behind them here in the land of the Greenies, and they're looking for those who are going to step up and fill those roles. One of the areas up for grabs right now is that long snapping position on special teams, and it's the reason the lead has grown from 7-0 to 9-0. That's quite a crop of outstanding players for this group to replace.
And they were on the defensive side of the football, D-back, linebacker, D-lineman as well. 7 from a year ago, 4 Power 5 opportunities, 3 at the FCS level, and so Christ School has a lot of young men that get a chance at the next level. Same thing for Rabun.
You better believe it. Young teams that are growing up before your very eyes, but are expected to be there when the dust settles, and are expected to continue to be the feeder for those Power 5, as we call it. You know, Power 4, I guess it is now. A group of 5. Get it right. We'll pull it all together and say whatever it is, however you term it, and everybody does it differently nowadays. There are going to be a lot of college football players that you're seeing on the field tonight.
Well, both these coaches very impressive when we talked this week. You know, one of the objects of the exercise is to see if they have an opportunity at the next level.
We may not get it right when it comes to all the determination. You may not get it right these days with all the movement in college football, but you know a lot of these players are going to be playing on Saturdays. That's the point. Coming back across the 20. Plenty of room. A flag is down, so this likely, perhaps from the location you would think coming back. That is Walker Bryson, who is on the move. Talk about a talented kid who comes from a tremendously talented family. But they are retreating to the other side of the field. Was going to be right at 50 yards. 49 on the return had it stood. But the standing right now is over a flag that is bringing the football back that direction. We'll talk a lot about Walker Bryson because he's one of those with family members playing on those Saturdays. You know, you talk about the changing landscape of all that time. You know, good luck figuring out who's in what conference. You know, you got to have a spreadsheet and a chart to know who's where these days, right?
Yeah, you really do. I mean, particularly this year with all the changes going on around college football. That, you know, we talk with both these coaches and appreciate their time this week. And one thing Derek Wagner was telling us is they love the return game. They spend a lot of time on that. And when you've got a guy like Walter Bryson and Josh Buckholder coming back and providing that opportunity for something like that. Now, it did come back, but that's an area they feel really good in.
Well, they know the Bryson family in these parts. That's a Western North Carolina name, and he's a Western North Carolina product. And we'll get into the deeper of those storylines a little bit later on, but the connections are thick. His return negated by the penalty, so they go to work to the Eagles from deep in their own territory at the 22. First target is Marshall Pritchett's direction, but it's incomplete. Pritchett, again, going to North Carolina. By the way, Walker Bryson's brother on that Minnesota team, Colbin, they ended up playing North Carolina last night. Fans in this part of the country, some of them at least, pleased to know the Tar Heels came out on top. It depends on what side of those rivalries you're on in North Carolina, right, or who you talk to. We got some in the truck, some here in our booth that all discussing how differently they see that. But football's back, and everybody a chance to mix it up in that way. And they're mixing it up a little bit in the interior. You know, minimal gain here, Tom, but you see just how much of a battle's going on in the trenches here.
Yeah, we talked about Raven Gap and Coach Wright telling us about some youngsters, a couple of sophomores on the offensive line that had to kind of fill in a little bit because of several different reasons. And he's interested to see how those young guys play up front.
Well, that was Big Cash Freeman. He's one of those sophomores. They called him a big menace. You can see why on that play. Third down along 8. Sitting down just across the 30-yard line, but that is well short of first down yardage, though the catch is made by Walker Bryson. All right, let's get into it a little more. He's from the Waynesville, North Carolina area. We mentioned his brother with Minnesota. Had a dad who played at Lenore Ryan. His mom played basketball at UGA. And a brother who played baseball at App State. So the pedigree is there for the Bryson family from this portion of North Carolina.
I tell you, you and I a couple of years ago did a North Greenville-Lenore Ryan game, and you want to talk about a team that would run the football and was highly competitive at the Division II level.
Dad would be glad to hear it. Certainly that family making their mark on this sport, on all sports. In North Carolina, Georgia, and beyond. It's going to be kept in his hands. Walker Bryson going to try to find a seam. He will. They go to him on the ground, and you can move the chains. Well, limping just a little bit is Bryson, but that's an early evidence of what a big part of the game plan he is for the Eagles, Tom.
Yeah, and the ability just they needed to get to there to get that first down and, you know, take a chance there deep in their own territory.
Move the chains inside 6 minutes to go, opening period. Wide open downfield, but again out of C.J. Willingham's reach. Boy, the one touchdown belongs to C.J. Willingham, but there have been a couple of other opportunities early for he and Gavin Owens to make their mark.
Yeah, it looked like maybe a down-out-go and bid on it, and then that sometimes, Jason, is the toughest thing. To first a hit, and then if you get it to catch it when you're that wide open, and a break for Rice School.
It almost looks too easy, and the heart gets to pumping in the chest pretty good, and they just couldn't quite make the connection. How about the start for Gavin Owens? 3 of 7, 35 yards, and the touchdown toss to Willingham. It's going to be Quinn Jr., and he is covered up. 1-3 meets another as Jalen Daniels is there to help make the stop, among others. Boy, you think about Xavier Burns. He fills up the screen as well. He's kid came over from South Carolina. They talk about for his 6'2", 320 frame, Tom, how well he moves, how much quickness he possesses. Watch for that on the Greenies side. 3rd and 9. Owens. Plenty of room to get the first down. There is a flag that has come down on the other side of the field at the 45-yard line. Just about where Owens eventually is run out of bounds. Now, that would have been first down yardage, but we'll see about the penalty flag.
I ran everybody off, and it wasn't there, and a really quick, good decision. Penalty's going to go against Rice School.
Well, it actually is going to be the Greenies defense that's going to be flagged for the holding there, Tom. It comes on the other side of the field, as we mentioned, kind of around the 45-yard line on the other side. So this run, exactly what you see it as being. And they'll take the yardage for a first down at the 45-yard line of the Greenies. Nice scramble by Gavin Owens. One of the first times he's shown us his wheels.
You know, he talked about his ability throwing the football. Doesn't run it all that much. 11 for 31 of the first 2 ball games this year. But he has that ability when it's there, and he took it.
First down for the Eagles, and Gavin Owens tries to step up. Southpaw will tuck it again now in that right arm. And he'll carry the loaf all the way down to the red zone area. We'll see where they spot him out of bounds, but it looks like it's going to be a second First Bank red zone opportunity in this first quarter for the Eagles.
Yeah, it's another one of those situations. You'll watch it again here, and I went back and it wasn't there and funneled back inside the blocking, and he had all that opportunity outside.
Quinn Jr. going to handle it down to the 10-yard line. Moving quickly there. Not enough time to even tell you 21 locations across western North Carolina and the upstate for First Bank to serve you in this First Bank red zone chance. Second down coming. Gavin Owens joined by Anthony Quinn Jr., who just carried it. Owens, who threw for over 30 times in the opener, 21 of 32. We talked about the two 300-plus yard games. He had 313 in the win. Now, this is a team, as they'll march a little closer to the goal line here, won the first game, dropped the second one on ESPN on Sunday, so a 1-1 start for Raven Gap.
So if last week was week 0, right? They played,
that's what we're told.
They played Benedictine, right? Was that
before that? Yes.
That week minus
that would have
one?
been
Something like that?
Well, it gets confusing for us. But they played 2 football games. Let's leave it at that. The results mixed a win and a dominant win against the team you called their name, the #1 5A school in the state of Georgia. And then the setback you know about from last week. But off to a tremendous start here, as that's a second touchdown toss. He was a big part of it throughout that drive, and Walker Bryson reels this in for the United Federal Credit Union touchdown. That's a couple of touchdown tosses already for Gavin Owens.
Watch this throw when we see it again. I mean, he has got to place that. I mean, he dropped it in there perfectly for the touchdown.
Well on his way perhaps to another 300-plus yard game with this toss.
I mean, from one side to the other, and look at the blocking up front.
Got a man wide open in the end zone this time and made it count. Couple of TD tosses for Owens and company well out front.
Don't let game night dinner get you stressed. Stop by Ingles. They have great choices from the Ingles Deli, rotisserie chicken, fresh-made salads, a delicious hot bar, and sub bar. It's dinner and a snap, then off to the game. Ingles, low prices, love the savings.
Do you think this very talented Raven Gap squad had plans to erase the memory of their most recent outing? An interception followed by a touchdown, a safety followed by another in the blink of an eye. It is a 17-0 advantage for the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, they took advantage of a couple of different situations. They've had opportunities they didn't convert it last week, so they have responded to that particular category.
That drive, 9 plays, 77 yards, just under 3 minutes, 2:43 to be specific, and the 8-yard touchdown toss to Walker Bryson capped the drive. Fair caught again. And it is going to be Greenie's football with some type of answer required by the home team here, Tom.
Well, thrown an interception and had a bad snap on a punt. They've had some success moving the football a little bit so far, but they find themselves in a deep hole with still some time to play here in the first quarter. They need a good drive here.
Team that, as we said, graduated 17. Handful of them to Power 4 conferences, handful of them to Group of 5 FCS looks a season ago. Off season a little different with so much success in some of the other sports, and wading their way into it in the early part of the year, stacked up immediately after being handed the football as Jackson Cancel. Called his name already a couple of times because Owen Madden had the interception early on. Here he's among those making the stop for Rabun Gap.
Talking about the secondary there and the linebacking crew. We talked a lot with Coach White about that. They're going to play a lot of players in and out here tonight. The depth maybe not what they want, but they have a lot of really skilled players.
Yeah, a lot of guys that have a chance to be D1 commitments. Have a number of key college football offers in that linebacking crew and in that secondary grouping. Here's a 2nd down 10. Holtzclaw pulls that out of there. He's got a guy. A little bit elusive here. And on the move is Andrews. Finally out of bounds near midfield. Nico Andrews with the catch, and it's the work he did after that has them cheering here in Arden.
Well, that's a big one right there because he's coming across the field, got him in stride, and able to change directions a little bit, accelerate up the sideline, good gain, and got the crowd to our right, the students excited on that play.
Yeah, finally something for that group to get excited about. Home group on the move with 3 and change remaining in the opening period, looking to respond to the early surge. 29 on that pass, and now back to the ground it goes. Jackson Cancel. Limited space there for him before it all collapses, and one of the big reasons for that is Bo Paulson. Again, we told you he's from Franklin. Talked about offers. He's just beginning to receive some after the way he has played in the early part of this 2024 campaign. We were told by the head man Derek White, he's got Carolina connections. We'll get into that before the day is done, but carrying all those South Carolina state championships from his time at Christ Church, and Ben Lippen to bring Rabun Gap here to Christ School on this Friday night. Holtzclaw going to tuck this, and he's into Rabun Gap territory. Flag does come in from across the field. The official right there on top of it gathering up the football, and our referee saying there was a little extra at the end of it.
Well, the amazing thing there was an official that was 2 feet away, and he didn't do anything, and then it came from the backside. I think it's the right call, but going to go against Rabun Gap.
There you saw the little bit of extra that's going to move the football all the way to the 32-yard line. Important drive for the Greenies as they keep on marching. Talk about the developing nature of this culture. There's Chad Walker in his 4th season and his 16th as a coach, 4th year as the head man at Christ School. 2-1 in the conference, 4-7 overall for his Greenies a season ago. You said it, not far removed from that championship, North Carolina championship, state variety in 2020, just a few years ago.
I tell you, they have been close. 9 times finished second. In fact, 5 out of 8 years beginning in 2012.
Trying to work through and find some open real estate, but stacked up quickly is Jackson Cancel again. Cancel, you know, how important is he to this group? They made him a captain as a sophomore last year, and his role is expected to be expanded this time around. We got a Greenie that is being tended to by the training staff off that offensive front. Blocked from being able to tell exactly who that is that they are tending to, but a key part of the battle taking place in the trenches right now. And we will break away, come back, give you a status report on the injured Greenie. It was Wilder Brasher, the lineman shaken up, one of the sophomores on that offensive line for the Greenies, part of that key group for Christ School. There you can see he continues to be tended to by the training staff. You know, he and Cash Freeman, the sophomores on that line. Of course, Luke Anderson, the center, kind of helps anchor things. And then you got the all-state performers that complete that offensive line. Talk about that in a moment. They're so key to this group. Tucking it himself, Mason Holtzclaw, and he's going to be good for a handful. Holtzclaw going to need some help. Space created by that offensive line tonight. And Tom, Sam Browder, Dawson Thompson, both all-state performers. Browder's headed to Memphis. Offers coming in Ivy League-wise for Thompson, although he's been offered also a Florida State preferred walk-on opportunity. So those are two guys that not only are they going to be big this year for this team, but they are growing to be big parts of somebody's line at the next level.
Well, they're big guys.
You got it. You got it. Trying to make some space for the Greenies on what they hope to be is the first successful drive of the night. Caught and hanging on despite a pretty good lick at the end of that. You know, Corey Moss was on the scene, but it did not deter Cooper Kirby from picking up the first down.
Yeah, fired that ball. Had time to throw it. One of the keys there, and he just sat in that area right there, and he fired it in chest high. One more look at the guys up front, provided that opportunity, and much needed.
So Cooper Kirby making sure the chains are moved. It's 1st and 10 from the red zone. First Bank red zone opportunity. 16 locations across Western North Carolina for you. 21 total in Western North Carolina and the upstate of South Carolina. And First Bank, the sponsors of our red zone. Mentioned it first such opportunity for the Greenies, and they'll go back to Jackson Cancel, who looks for a little room, has some. 2nd down and about 7 coming.
Yeah, this is a huge drive. We talked about how Rabun Gap able to get off to a great job, take advantage of a couple of situations there. If they could get on the board and change the momentum in this game late in the first quarter.
Jackson Cancel, who has waited his turn, but has been a leader long before being one of the premier performers to have his name called week in and week out. They turn to him here for a gain of about 3. He's right off the left hip of Holtzclaw. They'll give it to him again. Cancel between a couple of defenders and all the way down around the 2-yard line. 3rd down. Now there is a first down available just inside the 1, and he's close to it.
I tell you, another great job up front. He read it, bounced outside, and then accelerated, powered forward, pick up a yard or 2.
How about a value of a back like this when you need to slow the rapid fire start to the game that the Eagles put together? He has methodically marched this team down the field, and now inside the final half minute now of this opening period, they give it back to him one more time, and he's into the end zone. Jackson Cancel finds pay dirt, and the Greenies with their first United Federal Credit Union touchdown of the night on the board.
That's a nice drive, nice response there. Some things have gone wrong in the first half. Bad snap, safety, short drive after an interception. That was a long one. That was a good one. Gave some folks a chance to take a break a little bit there and got on the board.
Well, Eagles living up to their name, doing their work through the air. And the Greenies with Jackson Cancel taking care of business on the ground. Looking to make it 17-7. Spencer Thompson, who was perfect on these a year ago, had a little trouble with the spot, and that is going to be kicked into the back of the line. Just never was down on the hold, and the kick is no good. So, Tom, you know, we were told by the coaching staff he went 7 for 7 on field goals that were kicked a year ago. The only miss when there was a break through the line in our Friday Night Rivals game.
Oh, man.
And Spencer Thompson here dealing with a difficult snap and hold in front of him will not be able to kick this through the uprights. So the lead at 11.
Well, that's a good drive despite the fact couldn't quite do it. He tried at a stutter step there a couple times, but unable to get that kick off. But did get on the board and kind of curbed the momentum a little bit here, late in the first quarter of play. And a good drive. They did a number of different things. Cancel particularly up inside. We also saw the versatility of Holtzclaw, the quarterback, to fire it downfield. Kirby got involved as well.
How beautiful these vistas before the sun goes down. You've got the mountains in the distance, kind of tucked away in them here in Arden, North Carolina. Picturesque setting, and you got to remember, these student athletes, they don't just come here on a Friday night. They're not just here during the day. This is where they spend their days being prepared for so much more than football.
Yeah, I mean, boarding school, you come, you stay, and same thing with Raven Gap, and from all over. Raven Gap has players from 7 different countries, 8 different states, and a lot of the same as we give you the names and where these young men are from on Christ School side as well.
10 plays, 79 yards, 235 on that drive for the Greenies, capped off by the Jackson Cancel run of just a couple of yards to make it 17-6. This one into the end zone. You can expect to see much of that on both sides tonight. Touchback as Raven Gap is set to take it back over. Well, a couple of passing touchdowns for the Eagles to this point as they get ready to set it up on their 20-yard line. Well, you talked about the Benedictine victory. Scored up over 40, allowed 17 against the top-ranked 5A school in the state. That was a game in which they scored 34 points in the first quarter, Tom. Looked like maybe they were cruising to that kind of advantage here. But Derek White and company now have at least heard from Christ School that they do not plan to go quietly into the night. Let's see what the reaction will be for the Eagles. I'll toss it out near side. And that's going to be C.J. Willingham on positive first down yardage. Yeah, when you can post 34 in a single quarter to set the tone, you're going to get out in front of some people.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I've been a team out of Savannah, Georgia. Sometimes some long trips, and then the Baylor School in Chattanooga.
Baylor School fans from the Carolinas will remember as well as the Greenies get in there and stop this nicely. That's the group coached by Eric Kimry. Remember, they were rivals in South Carolina where so many of Derek White's championships came from. Eric Kimry, who played for the Gamecocks, now at the helm of the Baylor School and led the Hammond School from South Carolina to so many of those titles, 12 of them. They tangled last week, and the response is what was called for by White. So far, he hasn't through a quarter.
Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, that restrooms and concessions are located behind the visiting team bench.
Well, a reminder that you'll want to stick around at the conclusion of this second quarter. We will have the Asheville Chevy Show at the half coming up for you. So many things you'll learn about both these teams, as well as from our friends at Asheville Chevy. That's the Asheville Chevy Show coming up at halftime. Getting set to begin the second quarter of action. 110 yards gained by Raven Gap thus far, 88 of them on the Christ School side of things. And 9 carries for 26 of those yards and a touchdown from Jackson Cancel, Tom, which happened just a moment ago to take what was a 17-0 lead and close things up a bit.
Yeah, get a chance to play full-time, 5A, 190 a junior. Jason told you, 17 carries, 80 yards, 2 touchdowns in that first one over East Burke, and scored a touchdown in each one of those quarters to kind of methodically win that ball game.
All right, we were setting it up going to break a little bit, talking about the battle last week for Derek White and company at Raven Gap, and how the one thing he talked about all week long, yes, it's a short week, but we have to respond. First quarter, nice response. Let's see if they can carry that over into the second. There's a flag here as this is caught beyond the sticks. That would have been a third down conversion to open the second period. But we'll see what the flag has to say about it. As I go back to Bryson on the far side. He was a big factor in that opening period. This is going to be against Rabun Gap for an ineligible receiver. So they'll have to reset, go after that one more time, as the first down will be negated. He had one of the catches for a touchdown in that opening period, did Walker Bryson. The other belonging to C.J. Willingham. Those are the two scores. Then, of course, the big interception defensively from Owen Madden that set the table for that opening score. And the special teams miscue, which provided the safety. That's how they arrived at 17. Went for 2 on that second touchdown, by the way, and that's how you get to 17 with the safety. So 2 touchdowns, one of the 2-point conversion variety, and then the 2 that were added when Spencer Thompson wisely made sure it was just a 2-point surrender.
So we're doing a little math here.
Here we go. Gets tough now. Don't make it too hard.
Plus 6.
Here's the lefty QB. And he's going to look downfield before he is eventually swallowed up from behind. The pursuit, true, from Jalen Daniels. He can provide some impact off the corner.
I tell you what, coming backside, you're going to see it. And he's going to run him down. 6'2", 210, the senior. Hard hit, 26 yards.
Well, he's one of the guys waiting for his time. Remember, he's been the likes of the Jones, Harrison gang that he had to sit behind for a long time. He's done a nice job embracing his role now that it is time for him to be one of the leaders on this Greenies defense, we're told by the staff, and they forced Rabun Gap to send the punting unit on.
Hey, a lot of excitement in the building right now. After the quick 17-0 start, had that nice 10-play drive a minute ago, and then your defense gets back out there, gets the stop, and should get it back in pretty good field position.
Well, Owens, who had carried it 3 times for 54 yards, unable to do much with that particular play after the penalty on the ineligible receiver. Brought that to a halt. 4th down is coming. The punting unit is on. You know, Tom, we haven't really elaborated on the bios for these two teams, head coaching wise, and the staffs they put together, but a lot of former NFL players that have their fingerprints on this grouping, and a number of devoted coaches with a great deal of wealth of experience, and that is doing their good work to make sure they're ready for the next level.
I mean, the key is the experience at all different levels. I was talking to one of the assistant coaches who were in Gap for the game, 8 years at Westminster and Atlanta, in that area. So, I mean, both are very well represented, and kids have a lot of really good and experienced coaches to work with.
Yeah, we'll talk about some of them as the night rolls along. Here is the punt. Fair catch being called for at the 36-yard line. That is where the Greenies will take over. So order restored to some degree by Christ School. They'll have the football on the other side of the break. 49. Thank you. The one we recorded, we did the Bojangles, I think, but we can do it live if you need me to. Bojangles is a proud sponsor of WLOS Friday Night Football. It's not just football season, it's tailgate season on WLOS and at Bojangles. Head there. Order your tailgate box today. It's not a tailgate without Bojangles. It's bow time. Well, all smiles on both sides for different reasons right now as we welcome you back with our Smile Cam. They have been waiting all week long. Should we say all season long for a matchup like this, as our Smile Cam captures some of the home fans.
And we're right behind them, so we're in the mix.
That is our Carolina Albee Smile Cam brought to you by Carolina Albee Orthodontics, proudly serving the Asheville, Hendersonville, and Brevard areas. Greenies with it after the punt. First down with 10:38 to go in the first half of action. Deciding at the last minute to try to secure what he can. Holtzclaw takes it back near the line of scrimmage, but it's going to be a loss. As 2nd and 11 is on its way. That's Bo Paulson again. We've called his name a number of times already.
Yeah, he's a big guy. 6'3", 220 senior. Plays a down position, can stand up a little bit. Also got Corey Moss in there as well. He had 11 tackles last week, so he's been a factor defensively so far for Red again. So
a 49-yard punt flipped it. The loss on the opening play, and here's another. As plenty of penetration is there. Big 9-0. That's Hector Gonzalez, one of the captains. Now, there's a flag that comes in at the end of this, but Hector Gonzalez wasted no time getting in the backfield. It's going to be against Christ School. Already a loss of a handful was going to make it 3rd and a while. This is a personal foul penalty that's going to be tacked onto the end of all this, Tom. So it's going to be a country mile now, do the Greenies, if they're to move the chains up around the 45-yard line.
Yeah, it's a tough one right there. I mean, makes it a real difficult situation here with just under 10 minutes to go in the first half.
By the way, Hector Gonzalez, who got in there and did the good work defensively, he's from Monterrey, Mexico. One of the captains, what the coaching staff say, he will blow up when everybody begins to learn about him. They are starting to call as we speak. Easy to see why. Backside pressure, and it does just enough time for Holtzclaw to get it out of there. And look at the pursuit from who else than the Wake commit. What they tell us, you can just call him Terry Azella. You know the background, you know the history and what that family has meant to the sport of football. And you're going to see a lot of 99. His brother, NFL player, he's a 4th-year individual in the program.
And he's a big guy.
And Nova Easy Azella for the first time making his presence known in this contest. And again, they said all broadcasters are instructed. Terry Azella is going to be fine, as certainly his name is called time and time again. He's a presence on that defensive front. It's going to be down at the 50-yard line. So right on midfield, Rabun Gap will take over.
Spencer Thompson's punt takes a favorable
after a 34-yard punt. Here come the Eagles again. How about your thoughts as we work into the second quarter, kind of waiting in here? What have you seen so far, Tom?
Great opportunities for Rabun Gap early on. They were able to take advantage of the interception, drive down, get a touchdown, and then a little bit of movement from Christ School, but then they had a bad snap on that punt for the safety and just really couldn't get things going to a certain extent. All of a sudden, they found themselves down 17-0 and put together a 10-play drive. They were able to run the football. They were able to get it out on the edge. They were able to throw it over the middle. And then also the quarterback, Holtzclaw, was able to do some things on the ground as well.
Back to work, the Eagles, and gathered up by the shirt tail and eventually dropped. That was Xavier Burns, who would let him go nowhere.
6'2", 310 junior. We mentioned Zelia, 6'3", 330 senior. You've got a couple big guys that are kind of controlling the line of scrimmage right there in the middle.
Xavier Burns with an I don't think so. Second down from behind the sticks for Coach White's squad. Trying to set something up underneath. Screen with plenty of room. And an open field tackle of beauty at the 45-yard line kept that from being further damaged. Yeah, the connection was there, as you'll see the catch made by Anthony Quinn Jr. But how about Jordan Edgecombe coming in there and making sure there was nothing further?
Man, that's a great tackle. 6'2", 212 senior, 10 tackles last week. He had a fumble recovery for a touchdown. He is one of the big leaders right in the middle on that defense.
Football junkie, they called him. Talked about how much he loves the game. You can see it on display there. This caught. Big collision near the 40-yard line. It appears to be just shy of the first down on the connection to Josh Buckhalter. And it's going to be 4th down and about 1 after the catch by Buck Hall.
That hit by Nico Andrews. Watch this one more time before they go for it. Out on the edge. Came up, makes it.
Timely arrival to make it 4th and 1. They get the cowbells going here in Arden, and it forces a timeout called by Derek White and his staff for Rabun Gap.
Can never have enough cowbells.
Not with football in effect on a Friday night, right? Comes with it. The bright lights of Friday night, the cowbells that ring, and all the excitement we've seen from these two teams thus far. Derek White bringing his team over, talk things over. Tom, 3rd season, 22-6, went 8-4, 13-1, now 1-1 so far on this year. He has his team in the top 100. There are over 28,000 teams that play high school football. This rated one of the top 100, and he's done that in just a handful of seasons.
Yeah, he's done a great job, and that's the expectation. They want to be able to compete not only for state, but also for national championships if they can, and then they were well on their way last year.
He's a Greer, South Carolina native, went to North Greenville, has 5 state championships in South Carolina, was a 2-time Coach of the Year, and, of course, the one he won for them the very first time at Ben Lippen was key. He has the right play call here simply by calling the right name, and it is more damage being done offensively by Walker Bryson of the Eagles. Not only does he move the chains with the couple needed for that, he has them all the way into the First Bank red zone.
I'll tell you, and Cooper Kirby had a chance right there to make the tackle on 4th down, and he just broke out of it, and then he was able to do something with it after the fact.
Think about what Edgecombe did in the open field a moment ago and what was not to be there. And all of a sudden, 33 later, here's the left-handed quarterback zipping one inside the 5, still up and lunging for the end zone and finding it with the touchdown is Cooper Kirby. Or check that, flip side, ends up being you-know-who. Marshall Pritchett with the reception. We're talking about Cooper Kirby, 1-7, that had a chance to make a play on that drive just a moment ago, and here is the 7 that does, and it may turn into 7.
Yeah.
Marshall Pritchett, the UNC commit again.
Yeah, just sits right down there in the middle. It come just a little bit late in getting there, and it's 6-6. He's able to power it in for the touchdown.
Now getting ready to punch the extra point through. And this time it is the simple 1 tacked on the backside to extend the lead to 24-6. Rabun Gap.
Rabun Gap and the coaching school Eagles 24.
Well, you'll likely see that touchdown pass on the halftime show brought to you by Asheville Chevy coming up about 7 minutes, 40 seconds from now. Always a reminder to stick around for the Asheville Chevy show at the half. That pass we're talking about, of course, of the 8-yard variety to Marshall Pritchett. It is the 3rd passing touchdown of the night for Gavin Owens, and runs the score to 24-6.
3 different receivers, too, able to move it around a little bit. Haven't really seen a whole lot of the running back so far tonight. Anthony Gwynn Jr., he'll get involved in that. He's been a very fine player for the ball club over the years.
Half the field needed there. 5 plays, 50 yards, 2 minutes, 15 seconds on that drive in its entirety for Rabun Gap. And this end of the end zone touchback coming for the Greenies. The early season battle, as we told you, between these two. visions, perhaps, of things to come between them. You know, one of the things that Coach Walker kept talking about, the energy and excitement surrounding this young group. Well, if nothing else has been on display through the first quarter plus, it's been the energy surrounding this group.
Well, it has. The other thing he told us was that they've only been together for 3 weeks to a certain extent. You don't have, and the same thing for Derek White told us, a lot of these kids play different sports in the spring. So it's a little bit different in that regard. You don't have a lot of opportunity to work in the spring.
Particularly with the other sports that these schools are so outstanding at. You know, glancing across these two programs, and we mentioned that Baylor School program that Rabun Gap played a week ago. Yeah, that was a group. 2 Power 4 offers, running back, 2 Power 4 wide receivers, and a quarterback that's getting offers from that level as well. All on one offensive unit. You think about all the baseball players that come out of those programs. You think about all the baseball players, basketball players over the years. The Blue Devils and Plumlee boys come to mind here at Christ School, who come out of these programs. And Tom, with so many different athletic pursuits that grab your attention, what was it that Coach Walker was telling us? You got to work hard to get to the point where you can have them for football.
That's true. And I know you do a lot of television work for University of Virginia baseball, and you said a lot of those guys have come out of the Baylor School as well.
Well, talk about these because I was just referencing, you know, the ACC basketball connections to this location right here, more prominently in this one tonight. And you think about all the different individuals who've made their mark on ACC, SEC, top-level baseball, football, and basketball, and beyond. And it'll run the calendar close. Solskjaer in trouble, and he is going to be swallowed up inside the 10-yard line. All kind of pursuit there. And able to drop him is Callum Green. Talk about his work ethic. Talk about how much the engine keeps running at all times. And he's able to come away with a sack.
Yeah, you'll get a look at it here. 6'1", 220 senior. And has put some weight on from last year. They like him at one of the linebacker spots. And we talked about Mancuso earlier. And
3rd and long, and 0 for 5. The tally thus far for the Greenies in this 3rd down scenario. And a toss near side that is incomplete at the 6:06 mark. 4th down is going to be coming. They need it all the way up to the 30-yard line to move the chains, so that is not to be. 4th down coming. But just to kind of finish up that conversation we were having as a part of this drive, it's not just football that's on the minds. You've got to throw the academics in there. You think about all the other sports, and you're hard-pressed at the start of the year to have that gelled unit you'd hope for with these programs. Both these coaches trying to establish that right here and right now. Part of the communication we heard from them. This should be great field position again for the Eagles. They are standing on the Greenies side of the 50 awaiting the return. Here's Bryson. Tries to make a move. Flags come in as he gets inside the 30-yard line to the 29. To that kick of about half the field. He's going to set up the Eagles nicely. We do have a player down at the 35-yard line. Another Greenie that is, it looks like, going to need to be tended to here as the flag is sorted out as well. 32 on the kick, 13 on the return. But all eyes and all thoughts right now at the 35-yard line with the injured young member of that Christ School special teams group. We'll take the timeout as well. Hope to bring you some good news on the other side of the break.
Number
15. Yeah. Well, our game tonight brought to you in part by Carolina Furniture Concepts. Over $5 million of furniture in stock, ready to deliver to you. Visit their Arden and Waynesville showrooms or go online at carolinafurnitureconcepts.com. Carolina Furniture Concepts nearby. Sponsors as well of our Coach's Corner. You'll hear from both coaches as a part of the Asheville Chevy Show at the half. Here in just a bit, will be interesting to get their thoughts on what has been a first half with ebbs and flows, 5:55 to play in it, and Rabun Gap with a little bit of breathing room here. We should tell you that while we were away at break, Lincoln Bullock, up under his own power, was able to walk off. So good news to report to you on the injury front, and it's first down after the penalty.
Yeah, all the way back inside his territory at the 48-yard line.
Remember, the ball was going to be on about the 30, set up going in. So you had the injury, you had the penalty, and now with it all sorted out, the left-handed quarterback goes back to work. And he tried to target Walker Bryson, but his toss was incomplete.
Yeah,
pretty good coverage over there.
Yeah, but a little bit late. He had him open early, but just kind of missed him out of the edge. Pretty good look there at the young man, the 3-year starter, Gavin Owens, 6'4", 198. He's a junior.
Again, his offers, BC, Louisville, Kentucky, 300-plus yards in each of the first 2 contests this year for the Southpaw. And the senior going up top. Coverage true for Nico Andrews, who's there to break it up, intended for Josh Burkhalter.
He's had a pretty good night tonight out of the secondary. 6'1", 182, junior out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. There's a big play coming up right here with 5:46 to go. Good look at it there.
Yeah, Pittsburgh kid, right? Tough as steel on a play like that. And he sets up a 3rd down. A scenario in which, to this point, the Eagles are 2 for 5. This one a 3rd and 10. They need the 40 on the other side of the field. How about this toss? It's going to be plenty of room if he can turn the corner. They try and use all the speed that is there from C.J. Willingham, but he is rushed out of bounds shy of the first down. Actually right at the first down marker, but it looks like they're going to spot him just shy, 4th and less than a yard.
Tell you, we've seen 2 4th down conversions already, and both eventually would lead to touchdowns.
Well, check that. After they rolled it over to 4th down and looked across as if it was going to be 4th and short, they said, after eyeballing it a second time, it was enough for the first down, and now the chains being moved as personnel changes take place. So move the chains on that run from C.J. Willingham. There was that lightning fast speed they discussed, and he was able to turn the corner. Back to Bryson. Wheels churning as all those legs get moving on the far side. He's to the 36-yard line. Bryson a little bit slow getting up on the far side.
And Jason, that's one of those plays where you clear them all out, you throw back underneath, and then you've got to come from the inside to try to make a one-on-one tackle on the edge against a running back or a wide receiver that's got momentum going forward.
Gavin Owens with the snap. Going to take a deep shot, but a little bit too much air underneath it for it to be tracked down by Darian Barnes, the intended target.
I mean, you got Edgecombe, the middle linebacker, just trying to guard him one-on-one, defend one-on-one, just missed him over the middle. Pretty good job, though, defensively to stay with the 5'10", 175 receiver.
Yeah, so many different weapons, and they come from so many different places. 53 players, 7 states, Canada, Germany, Japan, Korea, the UK, Mexico, Bahamas, all represented alongside those international players. Just a tremendous group put together. 9 of 16, 72 yards, 3 touchdowns. As he rolls the dice on 3rd down. Boy, what a catch. Just to hang on. As the timely arrival, the lick was there, but that's Barnes again. Remember, they were trying him over the middle a moment ago.
Well,
he has this one.
Been some big hits in this game. I think Andrews is also going to be part of that, in addition to Jordan Dalton as well. But a good catch with a big lick.
So attempts to hit Barnes over the middle. A connection with Barnes. He hangs on here. And 4th down coming. 4th down and about 2, and timeout is being called for as Christ School wants to talk it over ahead of this 4th down play. Tom, we were giving you some of the locations from whence they came to Raven Gap. 8 from Georgia in-state products, 7 from North Carolina, 9 from South Carolina, 3 from Florida, 1 each from Virginia, Maryland, and California, 9 crossing the border from Canada, 4 out of Germany, 1 out of Japan, Korea, 1 out of Mexico. We told you a little bit about the tremendous linemen there. 1 from the UK, 1 from the Bahamas. That is the makeup of this roster for Raven Gap.
Man, that is amazing. We talked to the coach about the connections in Canada, particularly Quebec and that area. And this is a school that's, what, 3 or 4 miles from the North Carolina border.
Well, and both of these teams are bringing coaches on staff that understand the international connections very well. You know, whoever you have on your side right now, you want to utilize. 4th down and short. With Raven Gap lining up as if they're going to go for it here at the 40-yard line, or standing back near it. The snap is received.
Close.
And even the 30, this is going to be very close. We'll see where they spot this. You know what his perspective is on it. Everything that can be done to sell it by Anthony Quinn Jr. will be. He's still got that 1st down indicator there. And it looks as if our officials are going to call for the chains.
I'll tell you, really good job of the defensive front by Christ School, because he had the hard count twice. And I mean, it is really easy to jump. So really good discipline there.
Measurement coming.
It's a big one.
On what was 4th down and a couple. Just inside 5 minutes remaining in the opening half. It is when you consider what another score would mean for a Raven Gap squad right now in possession of the football. Well, they stretch it out. 1st down.
Well, yep, you talk about a game of inches.
Just enough, it would seem, to move the chains. You'd have thought that last conversion was a little closer. They eyeballed it a second time and said, oh, no, that's enough. This one is by a link or 2 of the chain. Beyond that, with the nose of the football making the difference. Clock still rolls under 5 minutes now. Number 5, Gavin Owens, with a fresh set of downs to work with. On the scene and able to disrupt Zion Akeem once more.
Yeah, good timing, contact on the arrival there, and shakes it free. A good look. Good job. Come over the top there, knock it out of there. Good timing, good play.
Second down coming. Look at Cooper Kirby, who was trying to get them in order. It's going to be tossed. Quinn Jr. and the Greenies able to cover this. Just saw him, Cooper Kirby, in the middle of things as well.
Yeah, I tell you, the kind of timing was off a little bit with a high snap. Owens had to go up and get it, and then kind of had to back turned, had to wait on it just a little bit. That allowed the hard charging Kirby to come up and make the play.
So here comes 3rd down. Going to need about 11. 3 of 7 at this point on 3rd downs. And a flag before the play. That's going to be motion. And a little more going to be needed now by the Eagles.
Yeah, if you're a Raven Gap, you know, you're in a situation where you're going to go for it on 4th down. That's the attitude, the approach, and you don't have to get it all at once. You get some of it back and then give yourself maybe a little bit of a better opportunity to convert on 4th down if it gets to that point. Oh, looking at the wrist. Make sure we got the right play.
That's the way it happens now, right? No more of those big boards, we're told, along the way, even at the next level. It's going to be interesting to see with different kinds of communication coming into the game. But it's the wristbands here on Friday nights. And before they can run whatever was dialed in that way, timeout is going to be called for by Raven Gap.
Yeah, I want to make sure that they're on the same page. Maybe get a look at the defense and See what they had thrown out there, how you might want to attack that. Go 4 wide, double slot both sides. You know, we talked, Jason, earlier on about the offensive line for both teams. And high school football, you're looking anywhere from 6'3" to 6'5", from 260 to 290 for both of those teams here tonight. Just amazing how that has changed in high school football over the years, the size of the young men up front.
It's remarkable. You got a Georgia Tech commit and a captain. Pick number 78 on one side there. When you think about the number 1 offensive lineman from an interior standpoint represented in this contest. You think about the surrounding cast for him, who we've documented. Tom, even though they're without some of the key contributors on that offensive line, something maybe we can get into a little later on due to injuries and otherwise. Still trying to make some room right now. Won't happen this occasion. Breaking through is Finley Sullivan. The guy with some Division I FCS offers of his own. He and the Greenies able to snuff out this drive.
Yeah, he did, and then Burns, all 300 plus, helped finish it off. Well, that's a big play right there.
Finley Sullivan, and you said it there to help out. Complete the sandwich was Xavier Burns. Those two up front. Bringing the punting unit out. You're right around 3 minutes to play in the opening half when Christ School gets the football back. In there within a couple of scores when you think about the max use of them. And there should be a little bit of room for a return here. All the way up to the 35-yard line. As Nico Andrews handles the return. 25 on the punt, 15 bringing it back, and the Greenies will start at the 35-yard line.
I tell you, that's a good stop for many reasons. But you think back to the game we did here last year, Providence Day, and how good they were. And of course, they hooked up with Raven Gap twice, and Providence Day beat them 34-27. But that was the game.
Second time for all of it, by the way.
Yes. That was the game where Christ School found themselves down 38-7 at halftime.
Speaking of 7, here he is, Cooper Kirby, kid who worked his way to this part of North Carolina from Dallas. And he's got the completion, majority of the yardage needed. Already secured on that first down toss. Inside 2:45 to go in the second. Set up beautifully. Interior. After the return a moment ago, he's got some work on the offensive side of things. Returning to Nico Andrews. And the Greenies in business.
Tell you what, much needed. They had that drive for the touchdown, and the next 2 possessions were punts. Little crossing pattern there, get it inside, and then let him go to town with his individual ability before he's tackled. One of the best plays of the night, one of the best drives of the night as well.
Yeah, the touchdown drive you talked about, 10 plays, 79 yards, 235, and the 2-yard run by Jackson Cancel capping it. They're putting together a similar drive perhaps here. Trying to sell the INT in the secondary. But it does not look like for now. Well, let's see. It will be.
Yeah.
They're going to flip it. The official coming in from behind things with a better look at it, it would seem. And here's your look at it now.
Pops up in the air there.
If he got the hands underneath it, he did. It never hit the ground.
Yeah, great camera work by our crew here tonight. Popped up in the air, and great reaction there to go down, get his hands underneath.
Boy, how about the job to stick with that? Chris Hobbs, a senior.
Yeah,
never giving up on the play.
I think that's the right call. I mean, he never had possession of it. He's rolling, popped up in the air, and coming to the backside, Hobbs. Nice job.
Hobbs with an INT. That joins Owen Madden, who had one earlier, and that promising drive for Christ School brought to a halt. Boy, how about this little shuffle? out near the boundary, and positive yards will come from it. As at the last minute, the decision is made to get rid of it by Gavin Owens. Little shovel pass, and it gets Buckhalter involved. 154, and downward it goes. You know, tuck that away in the back of your mind a little bit, Tom. That was a very promising drive for Christ School that ends up being taken care of on the second interception of the night by the Eagles. And now they march out of bounds with 1:47 left to play. Still plenty of time for further points here.
The obligatory 2-minute drill right here. I tell you, that's nice pass play. Left-handed is Owens. Rolls to his right and then kind of thrown across his body, and then kind of horizontally with him, able to hit him on the run to Pritchett.
Yeah, another target of Marshall Pritchett, and why not? As talented as that player is. Owens out near side. Looked like he was going to throw it, but sees too much wide open real estate. He'll take it across midfield. He is into Greeny's territory at the 49. First down with 96 ticks remaining in the opening half.
Well, you took a look at it here. He wanted to go back the other way, and that's where all the activity was. And then he decided a good decision to pull it down and get down before he was able to get nailed there. But a good game. We've seen him, his versatility with the pass and the run here tonight. Another player down.
Yeah, we got another Greeny that is down around the 30-yard line. Looks like another one of those linemen, perhaps. 17 yards on that run that resulted in the latest of our stoppages for injury. Well, so far so good in getting these players up and continuing to this point. But this looks like all 4 members of the training staff going to be needed to help bring Xavier Burns to his feet. You want to know how much they love him here in Arden, North Carolina? The reaction and the response, knowing he's going to be able to continue, noticeable. Burns coming off near side after the 17-yard gain. It is first down Eagles in Greeny's territory at the 49. Just over a minute and a half to work with for Gavin Owens and his crew. Setting it up. Buckhalter out of bounds to stop it at 129 at the 43.
Yeah, quick hitter that time, and we've seen a number of different variations offensively on pass patterns and what they've been able to accomplish over the middle, out of the side, roll out, dump it off quickly. So just get what you can there, get out of bounds, stops the clock at 129.
Another toss, nearly identical, but a flag was down before it started. We can tell you why they sort this flag out. Gavin Owens, 13 of 21, 100 yards and 3 touchdowns thus far through the air. He'll have a little less room that he'll have to cover as a 5-yard penalty for offsides moves the Eagles forward inside the 40.
Oh, we've seen with the Eagles here tonight, if they have a big play, they'll get to the line of scrimmage and want to go quickly.
1:28 to go in the half. Owens to a spot. Enough disruption, and in fact the umpire of the belief too much disruption as the flag is thrown after the contact from the secondary.
Yeah, might have gotten there just a little bit too quickly.
The flag is for pass interference against the Greenies.
So that'll be another penalty against Christ School here late in the first half.
And with the clock stopped, it's going to make it a little more feasible now for Rabun Gap to add to the 24-point first half total to this juncture. What about the first half for Gavin Owens so far?
Yeah, he's been pretty good. We talked about 3-year starter, and a year ago, 25-60, 2005-60, 19 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and off to a really good start, about 300 yards per game early on. You can see that he's got some patience back there, and he's got some experience. You just have to play, and I mean, he's the probably right guy, right time to lead this team.
He's the left that you're going to hear about for a long time to come. Carolina kid going to work for the crew out of Georgia, and what a battle for possession on that far side. Looks like it's taken away by Marshall Pritchett. You want an image of his value, a snapshot of what he can do beyond just the things that are discussed numbers-wise. One of the intangibles right there. Marshall Pritchett straight took that away.
He did. He went up 6'6". Had good defense.
1 minute remaining. Covered up beautifully by Jordan Edgecombe, who was Johnny on the spot. Remember we told you, first team all-conference. Guy who loves this game. Double-digit tackles in the opener for the Greenies. Making his mark again here. It's enough disruption that a false start penalty will back the Eagles up a little further. Clock rolling inside 40 seconds.
Right, going to go back that catch by Pritchett. I thought if he put it a little more to the outside, it would have been an easier catch. It was a little bit inside, and he went out and got it under pressure.
Pretty impressive catch. Good response by the Greenies D since then, and now they try to provide pressure on Owens, and he fires this. Too strong. Right at 20 seconds remaining in the half.
It's pretty good defensive play right there, because the defensive end or the defender over on that side kind of bottled him up, because if he gets outside, he's going to go down the sideline, but he kept him in the pocket and forced him to throw the football away.
Time for the Ingles field goal challenge to go in effect. Well, he said anywhere from the 40-yard line in, we're comfortable, right?
Yes.
The coaching staff for Raven Gap, and one is going to be tried, it would appear, on 4th down. Well, it looks like a penalty flag is going to make it a little more manageable. This is going to be a 40-yard try when they sort it all out. Tommy Mikiachi out there ready to give it a try. Right foot into it. And he will put it through for 3 more. How about that? A 40-yard try, making sure something comes out of this closing drive for Raven Gap in this period. And it takes it to 27-6. And the Ingles field goal challenge is cashed in. A reminder that on each field goal across the course of this season, Ingles will be donating $100 to the Boys and Girls Club. Good luck to all the athletes and teams participating in each of these games in the Friday Night Rivals season. Brought to you by Ingles Markets, where your savings say something. So they cash in the Ingles field goal challenge, Tom, and the lead grows to 21.
Yeah, able to get an outstanding interception off a deflection, and then did a number of different things offensively, and several different players involved. And I'm telling you, that was a 40-yard field goal. It was 3/4 of the way up off the building behind. So young man got great legs.
Yeah, it would have been good for 60+ if he would have been able to get it left to right where it needed to be from that kind of distance. He was good from this distance. How often do you see it that you have a safety, a 2-point conversion, and somehow it's 3 scores even and 21 between these two? As we close in on the final seconds of the first half, 27-6 is the score to create that separation of 3 scores. Turned up across the 10 to the 12-yard line. Greenies will have 8 seconds should they choose to do anything with it after this return from Blue Simmons, the leader of the return group on the special teams side. 8 seconds from the Asheville Chevy show at the half. As we'll see Chad Walker and his staff opt to do anything. Going to be interesting to hear what Derek White thinks about his team's response in this first half.
Take the knee.
And they will opt to head to the locker room with the score at 27-6. Well, a trio of passing touchdowns. The mark of a tremendous first half by the talented QB Gavin Owens. And he and Raven Gap will enjoy a little breathing room at the intermission. We'll have the thoughts of both head coaches, highlight stats, a whole lot more, all coming up as a part of our Asheville Chevy show now in effect at the half. So much that you will learn about both of these programs, and always a pleasure to hear from the head man on these Friday nights. Well, you know, there has to be, at least from the early stages of that first quarter, a pleasing element to what Coach White saw from his team. Now, he's making sure he's on the same page with the men running the show before he heads into the locker room. But wondered how his team would respond. He talked about how important it would be that they do so effectively, considering the last time out and the short week on the backside of it. You know, so far, so good for the Greer native and his team out of the state of Georgia.
Yeah, to reiterate, played on a Sunday afternoon on a national televised game on ESPN. They're a highly ranked team. They're number 4 in the state of North Carolina. Now, they're a Georgia school. We'll get into that a little bit more in the second half.
The timing and the matchups working well on this side of the state line. And everything working well so far on this night for Rabun Gap. Standing by with Nelson, the head man from the crew out of Georgia.
All right. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Jason. This is the Coach's Corner, brought to you by Carolina Furniture Concepts. Well, Coach, I got to tell you, you guys had a very productive first half. Your quarterback is quite the gunslinger out there. He's really moving the ball downfield, put up some solid points on the board, and I will say that was a great burst of momentum going into the half just now with that field goal as well. Let's talk about your first half assessment, Coach.
I'm going to be a little bit opposite of you. I don't think we played very well. It's sloppy. We kind of knew that going into being 2 offensive linemen down, being beat up a little bit, but we're just not executing as clean as we want to be. As we talk every week, it ain't got nothing to do with Christ School. It's got to do with Rabun Gap. And right now, we're not playing to the level that we need to play at. We're fortunate that that's the score, but we're not doing what we need to do to get where we need to be.
So what's going to be the second half? What can we look forward to, Coach?
Well, we got to clean some things up. We got to try to run the football a little bit, be efficient, go on some drives, and quit worrying about the big plays and just march the football. Defensively, we were out of alignment. They got a touchdown. We just got to not give them any big plays and make them earn everything they get.
Understood. Well, good luck to your boys in the second half, Coach. Yes, sir. Tom, Jason, back to you guys.
All right, Asheville Chevy Show at the half in full coming up after the break.
Bojangles Friday Night Rivals Halftime, brought to you by Asheville Chevrolet.
Welcome back to Friday Night Rivals here on the Asheville Chevrolet Halftime Show. Joining us are the long-standing and proud supporters from the Asheville Chevrolet organization, Stan Anders, Bobby Roussel, and Joey Roussel. Gentlemen, always a pleasure to have you guys here.
Great to be here.
It is absolutely a pleasure to be here, Nelson.
It's great to be back.
Now, Joey, I want to start with you first. I want to hear all about the Joey Roussel first half assessment. What were your thoughts on the game, buddy?
The first half assessment. So it's been a good game so far. It's great to have football back. Obviously, the Eagles are kind of taking the lead right now. It's a lot of good passing out there, and hope it still has some lightning at the end.
Now, Bobby, let's talk business, shall we? What does inventory look like right now in the lot over at Asheville Chevy?
Well, we just got a fresh shipment of trucks in. We probably got 15 trucks with up to 10 grand off in rebates.
Okay. Now, Stan, obviously we love having you here, but we understand tonight is the season finale for you. After a certain amount of years, I'm going to let you disclose to our audience how many years we're talking about here, but you have decided it's time to retire. Is that correct, sir?
That's correct.
Now, what are some of your retirement plans? You know you got to share with us these plans.
Oh, I'm just going back to home in Louisiana and being with my kids and grandkids and my wife, and we're going to just enjoy each other's time.
Now, I got to ask you, because you've been a long-standing and proud supporter of high school athletics for so long now, what have you enjoyed the most and why?
Well, I've enjoyed our partnership with WLOS and my 40, and there's a lot I want to say, but you know, we've been doing this for over a decade, and it's great to work with people like you, Nelson, and then Amber and Courtney and Daniel and Michelle, who's got these balloons behind my head. And so, you know, we're just so blessed to do that. It's really like y'all treat us like friends and not business associates. So that's great to know. And I've been blessed for 13 years. My father-in-law, Mike Alonzo, allowed me to be part of a family business, and I appreciate that. And I get to work with my brother-in-law, who's more like a brother than a brother-in-law. And then the last few years, been able to work with my nephew, Joey. And I just have to say, you know, I'm always thankful for my wife, Debbie, who's had my back for 41 years and still has my back. And grateful to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, who shows me unconditional love every day.
That's such a beautiful testimony. Well, on behalf of the Friday Night Rivals family, including our truck crew, who is about 100 feet away from us, my 40, and the WLOS organization as a whole, we proudly present you this plaque right here, Stan Anders. Thank you so much, and best of luck to you going forward.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
All right. We'll be back in just a moment, folks.
Friday Night Rivals Scholar Athlete, brought to you by Arby's.
Welcome back to Friday Night Rivals here on the Asheville Chevrolet Halftime Show. Well, folks, throughout the course of the season, we will have an array of Arby's Scholar Athlete winners on this show. The Scholar Athlete winners are eligible to receive a $5,000 scholarship. We are now joined by Yusef Kadri, all the way from Raven Gap High School. Yusef, good to have you here, my man.
Hello, thank you so much.
Of course. So you know I have to ask about your accent, man. Where are you from?
Yes, sir, I'm from London, UK. Traveled out here, attended Rabun Gap, and my parents are from Italy and Ghana.
Nice. I like that, man. Now, I gather you have a rock-solid 4.0 GPA. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Maintained a 4.0 GPA and high honors throughout my years, and also going to be finishing with 7 APs.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Most impressive indeed. You put us all to shame out here, man. Now, I gather you are a football star, a track star, and a swimming star. Is all that correct?
Yes, sir. I went to States for all of those. So,
okay. Yeah, let's unpack all those a little bit more. How long have you played each one of those sports, by the way?
So football, I started when I came to Rabun Gap, and swimming, I actually started last year and was able to go to States with the team, which was very exciting. And as well, track, I've been doing it for 2 years at Rabun Gap and attended States at both of them.
That does sound pretty exciting.
So,
now, I gather you're also somebody who is very well active in the community as well. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about your volunteer work in the community, as well as what specific capacity you conduct that work in.
Okay. So Whitechapel Mission in the UK, just helping serve out food in like communities that need help. Also serving sources of strength for my school, supporting the kids that need like someone who can speak for them, and being a prefect for my school as well.
That all sounds fantastic indeed. Well, Yusuf, once again, you are RB Scholar Athlete winner for this week. Congratulations, my man.
Thank you so much.
And good luck in all your future endeavors as well.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Perfect.
RBs, we have the meets. We'll be back in just a moment. Well, hello there, everybody. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to tonight's Friday Night Rivals football game. Joining us today is our good friend all the way from Ingalls Markets, Miss Taylor Newhouse. Taylor, are you loving the game so far?
Absolutely. It's been a fun one to watch.
It has been a fun one to watch. Now, what are you anticipating? An explosive finish, I hope?
We always hope for an explosive finish, but definitely an interesting game.
All right, we got to talk at the end of the game then.
Absolutely.
Now, let's talk about high school athletics in general, because from what I understand, Ingalls Markets, y'all have had a long-standing and robust partnership, not just with our organization, but the entire community as a whole. Let's talk about the dynamics of that partnership.
Absolutely. We kind of gravitate towards athletics because we feel like it's a great way to reach our communities, but we're with these kids all the way from that first day of elementary school all the way through college. So we're really following them, but athletics is a good way to bring it all together because everyone loves a Friday night football game.
They do indeed, including you and I. That's
Absolutely.
Right. So it sounds like you guys really do bridge that link between academics and athletics. Am I correct to assume that?
Yes, definitely. We're there to support children through their entire educational experience.
Speaking of supporting children, y'all have people who come into y'all stores and end up working for y'all, people who you go to church with. I mean, this really is a tight-knit community. Is that right?
Absolutely. Ingalls is a beacon in all of our communities, and we love to get people in and out of the store, especially these kids that are working at our stores, our athletes and students in the schools that we support as well.
That's indeed right. Well, Haley, you know what time it is. It's time to get back to some football.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it. We'll see you guys next time on Friday Night Rivals.
Well, getting ready to wrap up the Asheville Chevy show at the half. Rabun Gap, a strong first half, a strong start to this football game. Price School able to get that touchdown on the ground. Nice work from Jackson Cancel. He's got to be the headliner on that side. 10 carries, 27 yards in the touchdown. But, you know, Gavin Owens and company, he's thrown for 3 touchdowns, up over 100 yards. Also has rushed for up over 60 yards on 5 carries. How do those individuals shake out into the overall numbers, Tom? Well, total yards, pretty good split in the Rabun Gap direction. Obviously, Rabun Gap with the 220-plus yards of total offense at this point.
Yeah, they had a couple of big drives in there. They were able to utilize offense, rushing and passing. And then you take a look at Christ School from their standpoint. They had that one big drive, really, the last time the first half. They had a really very good interception by Rabun Gap that set up that final opportunity for the 40-yard field goal. So it was kind of hit and miss a little bit with Christ School. They had one drive, 10 plays, 79 yards to the touchdown. They moved it occasionally at times. Rabun Gap, I think, has done a really good job. Some play calling, mix it up, and then been pretty efficient, both running the football and also passing. And then the 3 touchdowns came to 3 different receivers.
And think about the 2 turnovers. That's what really stands out from the numbers overall. Second half coming up after the break. Well, the advantage Rabun Gap in this cross-border battle between a couple of teams with aspirations of championship dreams in 2024. And go back and take a look at the keys to this contest tonight. Tom, here were our Hyundai of Asheville keys. How do you grade them on these?
Well, the Christ School, the discipline, the one thing they had last week, they had a couple of penalties and so forth. I thought they did a pretty good job overall in that particular category. Do your job, and then you take a look at response, and the way for Rabun Gap, was the ability to respond coming off the last loss that they had last week, because they didn't have an opportunity. They had some opportunities to score, didn't do it in the red zone, and they've been able to do that here tonight. So I think when you look at it that way, Rabun Gap's done just about anything they wanted to do tonight in terms of the keys to the game.
We work our way into the third quarter of action, and we'll see what type of halftime adjustments were made. And we talked about Gavin Owens. He and his crew are going to get the football first as the Greenies are set to kick it away. Remember, Greenies had that first touch of the football. It was the interception by Owen Madden that led to the first points, and Rabun Gap never trailed. Had a safety mixed in, a 40-yard field goal mixed in with his 3 touchdown passes. Give me the overall numbers for Owens here in just a minute. But first, the return on the kick up across the 20, maybe more. And Bryson up to the 30, still trying to find room. Having a little trouble gathering up the football, but he has the handle when it matters across the 40 to the 42-yard line. All right, Tom, here are the numbers for Gavin Owens. 15 of 24, 107 yards and the 3 touchdowns. 5 rushes, 63 yards. He has been solid.
Yeah, very efficient in what he was able to do. And then we talked about his ability to move it around. Got 3 different receivers involved as Willingham got the touchdown pass. Bryce got 1 Pritchett as well. And then when he's needed to scramble, when it wasn't there, he has been able to make good decisions with the football, pick up some pretty good games on the ground as well. So he's shown that versatility here tonight.
40 yards on the return for Walker Bryson. And now Xavier Burns in that front line defensively for the Greenies. Try to get the football back. Quick shot up top. He's got his man. Johnson Buckhalter is loose. And a United touchdown for Buckhalter. How about this? We talk about all the different wide receivers. C.J. Willingham with a touchdown tonight. Walker Bryson with a touchdown tonight. Marshall Pritchett with a touchdown tonight, reception-wise. And now Josh Buckhalter with a touchdown tonight as well. And this one, the statement to open the third.
Just over. Nico Andrews there has had a good night so far, but boy, right on the money. And once he makes that catch, he is gone. Yeah, swing and gate.
Another receiver. Yeah, there you go, Tom. A little bit of vintage football for you. Ahead of the extra point attempt. They're on it to 34-6. And it is true. Well, it didn't take long in this third quarter for Raven Gap to pick up right where they left off. Okay. Where is that? Never mind, I got it. Well, after that highlight, we remind you not to forget Friday night football frenzy. Use 13 each Friday at 11 p.m. for the Friday football frenzy. Brought to you by Foundation Solutions of Western North Carolina. Each Friday throughout the season, Chris Womack and Marvin Parker give extended coverage to all the high school football in our area. A part of Friday football frenzy. Might see that 57-yard connection to Josh Buckhalter from Gavin Owens. 4 touchdown tosses now, Tom.
Yes.
4 different wide receivers.
Yeah, and in different ways as well to get people involved. Just went over the top, had the one-on-one coverage, and able to throw it deep and got it. You know what I'm up at, that football frenzy is you and I just call one game. I don't know how those two guys do a great job trying to get you all across Western North Carolina and get the names and numbers right. So
keeping up with it all for you. You don't want to miss that on Fridays across the course of the season. That, of course, required very limited action there. 57 yards and not much time off the game clock in this third quarter to get the job done. Return for the Greenies to the 30-yard line. And well, if there was a response that was being sought by the Raven Gap coaches staff, Tom, Coach Derek White and his crew got it to open the third quarter.
Yeah, they did. And we've talked about at the outset the way they were able to convert on 4th down, and they had 2 4th down conversions in that first half that eventually led to scores as well. So they've come to play, and coming off that ball game on a Sunday afternoon, a hot one, and didn't have much time to prepare, as much time per usual if you play on a Friday night. And they played on a Saturday night in the first game of the year as well.
Doesn't seem to be a problem to this point. Tone-setting moment of the third behind us now, and here comes Christ School. That is defended well and knocked away. Far side, a little bit slow to get up over there, needing a bit of help from a teammate. Well, there's a man on coverage, and looks like he's going to head off far side, so we'll have to check the status there. That's perhaps an awkward finish to that play after it was well defended. Feel like they're working with the padding at least on that left shoulder. But it did knock the pass away. 2nd down and 10 for Mason Holtzclaw and company. The nation's top QBs in the class of 2027 with his work cut out for him, and this is going to be tipped up and intercepted again. 2nd tipped interception, or at least interception off of someone else, off the body on the ground earlier you saw, and here this just a straight tip drill moment And a third pick of the contest. Take a look at this. That's right in and out of the hands of Nico Andrews. And right place, right time for that secondary.
Yeah, I mean, that's right there and just popped in the air. And, you know, you mentioned the old tip drill. We saw it, two really good but different interceptions in the first half. The layout by Madden to make that catch, and then one off a deflection that popped into the air as well. And the second defender able to get it.
Now, Corey Moss, the senior DB, has his interception to go along the one you saw to begin things from Madden earlier. And again, the third of the night. Quickly back to work, the Eagles, and that's down to the 35-yard line. Threatening to run off and hide a little bit here, Tom. This crew that is really beginning to click on all cylinders in this, the third game of the year.
Yeah, you're coming off the outstanding season a year ago, that 13-1, won their first 13, beat this Christ School team twice throughout the course of the year, once in the second round of the playoffs, and then came up a little bit shy against that great Providence Day team. And I mean, they're ranked high now, number 4 in the state of South North Carolina, I should say.
Off the first group of tacklers and continuing to strive forward is Anthony Quinn Jr. Haven't mentioned it yet, but Quinn Jr., the captain, expected to head to JMU, but you know there's offers coming from everywhere in this moment in time, so you never know where he'll land. But JMU certainly the favorite landing spot initially from the Fayetteville kid in his second year. They talk about how he's tough as nails, brings it day by day. The reason he wears that captain's insignia on his jersey. Haven't needed a lot on the ground tonight, but when called upon, Anthony Quinn Jr. has been true. They'll call his number on the prior play and then turn back to the skies, and Walker Bryson here. Bryson still up. Bryson with a cut, and he works himself inside the 10-yard line. Boy, an impressive-looking athlete as advertised tonight in the Western North Carolina product, Walker Bryson.
Yeah, you can just take a look at that one play right there and what he was able to accomplish as he took it on a swing pass and then took it up the sideline and on two different cuts. Watch this as he gets it there, and he sets up the blocks as well.
They go to work here toward the end zone, and that's a touchdown. And trotting off the field after adding to the total with the United Federal Credit Union TD. You know, this is how quick strike Rabun Gap has become. You don't even get the chance to talk about the 21 locations in Western North Carolina and the upstate that First Bank has when they enter the red zone, because just like that, it's a United Federal Credit Union touchdown. Keeping the sponsors happy tonight, this Rabun Gap team that is beginning to roll up the points now, having crossed the threshold of 40 early third.
Well, and that was the situation there as well. We talked about big play, get right to the line of scrimmage and make a quick call, and they did for the touchdown.
Zumi Mikaichi putting a right foot into it again. And his kick once more true. 41-6 the score. This was the catalyst, the latest of 3 picks. And it translates after the tip drill into another TD. Well, here is our Caroline Albee Orthodontics Smile Cam. They have plenty to smile about, those who have made the trip up across the Georgia line and into the state of North Carolina on this night. Latest reason, 4 plays, 36 yards after the INT, and a 6-yard pass to cap it off. Second touchdown in succession for Burkhalter. And with 9:48 to play in the third, we have a 2-time scorer through the air now for the first time. And we have the high water mark for Raven Gap as they lead at 41-6.
Impressive. They've come out here in the second half and first play over the top, 57 yards, get the interception, and then they're able to take advantage of that. And one of the situations they had against Baylor School when they lost 21-14, there were 7 times inside the 30 when they didn't score. Well, here tonight they've been able to punch it in.
Set to kick it away with 9:48 to go. All comes back to the ability to finish those drives, to your point, Tom. And you wonder how will your young men in the early part of the season answer the bell. They've certainly done so.
Well, and early in the season, too, you mentioned that. And again, for those who weren't with us earlier, this is a conference game. It's a North Carolina Independent Schools Athletic Association Western Division game. And wondered about Raven Gap from Georgia being in the North Carolina division here. And they like-minded schools. They've been doing it for 20 years. So it's an interesting situation because they're kind of 2 boarding schools get after it.
Well, and he's brought plenty of experience with him and plenty of experience from others who've been involved in the boarding school world and had tremendous success there. About the new OC and everything being dialed up here so far tonight. That's going to be caught. And they get Blue Simmons involved. I hadn't really talked about it tonight with so many of these plays being dialed up, Tom, by offensive coordinator Stephen Alexander on the Raven Gap side of things. Now, he's the second of the Alexander brothers hired, and of course the tease always from the head man was he hired the better one first, right, just to give a hard time to his new OC. But here's a guy who had 6 titles during his time at Norcross in the Roanoke area of Virginia, and he's trying to help build more there in Georgia. Well, his defense swarming around as well. And this disrupted as Holtzclaw dodges a little bit of a bullet here. His thoughts on a potential 4th for Raven Gap in the secondary on this play.
I mean, this is Zeke Marsh, I believe, coming over to make the play. And think about this. Free safety, 6'6", 215, junior.
3rd down coming. And Christ School 0 for 6 on 3rd downs in the contest so far. This one a 3rd and about 3. Keep it on the ground. Able to elude tacklers and get the first down and then some. Boy, that looked to be dead on arrival. But then the young man responsible for the touchdown on the night for the Greenies somehow breaks free. Here's Jackson Cancel.
Look at this. I thought he was going to be down. I mean, they had him. He breaks out, never gave up. And then he's able to get down. Marshall will make the tackle immediately. But that is a huge first down. They give it up 2 quick touchdowns here. And you need to get a drive here. And you need to get something on the board.
You see him digging deep after that run. That is, again, the first of the 3rd down conversions. Mentioned 0 for 6 prior to that play. And Cancel digging deep for second effort to make it reality. And whistles to stop, A, the music, and B, a fight that seems to be taking place just below us in the stands. And a little bit of both of those things. That the coaching staff was saying, wait a minute, somebody get to this. But I think the officials stopped everything. That was grabbing some attention. The officials stopped everything, trying to make sure that that musically everything was in order for the game to continue. Holtzclaw ready now. So all that to say, no penalty or anything there, just a stoppage to get things ready for continued play. Ready for continued play. Here is Zion Akeem. And he's he's going to carry that forward. Another movement of the chains, and all of a sudden the conversions beginning to come for Christ School. This looks similar to that extended drive they had in the first half, Tom.
Yeah, 10 plays, 79 yards that end up with a touchdown, and it didn't take them all that long to get there. They had a really promising drive that happened right before intermission, and then the turnover came, and that was a Raven Gap team that was able to go down and get a 40-yard field goal before intermission.
Stretch that lead out at the break to 27-6. Now having built upon it. Here's a shot deep, but that's out of reach. The intended target tried to connect with Nico Andrews, but it was incomplete. Holtzclaw putting just a little too much air underneath that.
Pump fake there and just missed him.
Of course, we talked about coordinators a moment ago. Dave Bruner, second season OC. Under Chad Walker on the Christ School side of things, helping dial these up together. And that's incomplete as Holtzclaw was under pressure again. And now at the 8:08 mark, a pivotal play on this drive coming.
Yeah, you get a good look there at Caden Matthews, freshman, 6'2", 191. And we talked about Marshall being 6'6", 215 as a free safety. I mean, pretty amazing.
Some of these players 15, 16, 17 years old. The numbers below it. This is going to be working near side, and it's thrown away. So 4th down and 10 for Holtzclaw now. As I mentioned, Dave Bruner's name, 37 years experience to here. And offensive philosophies coming together is a major play call on 4th down. If Christ School is in any way to take a bite out of this lead right now. Chad Walker, 4th-year head coach, sending his quarterback, Holtzclaw, back out there. Now trying to convert on a 4th down after a key thirds on this drive, and that is in and out of the hands of his intended target. It'll be a turnover on downs as Raven Gap takes back over. Trying to go underneath, see if maybe they could create something that would provide space ultimately for Cooper Kirby, but it was not to be.
Yeah, Cooper Kirby's had a good night tonight, but yeah, a little bit underneath. And one thing we have seen on this particular drive, there's been some receptions, but it means gang tackling right in the area, solid play in the defensive end, if there is a completion, and good coverage as well.
.57 to go. And 41-6, and Raven Gap taking back over. We've seen a little bit of everything. Everybody friends again now down below us. We had a little shoving a minute ago. We talked about stopping things on that drive to get everything lined up musically and beyond. From an environment standpoint, we've seen safeties, we've seen interceptions, but we haven't seen this kind of gain on the ground for the Eagles tonight. But that's because we had not, to this point, seen Luca Walden in this spot. Look at the junior take off in another gear.
Yeah, he has some open field versatility and moves as well. They change quarterbacks as well, Jason. So you're late in the third quarter.
Yeah, you're going to get some new faces in here on all sides. Of course, Gavin Owens' number is going to be worth sharing with you along the way. Kingston Paquette now in to control things at the quarterback position. Of course, Anthony Quinn Jr. giving way to Luca Walden, whose name we just called there. So you'll get a number of the surrounding cast members from some of those key starters who are going to get some valuable Friday night moments, Tom.
You got to get them under the lights.
This in and out of the hands of Nate Fawn, the intended target. Junior wide receiver now into the contest as well.
Well, both teams have a little bit more than 50 players, and I don't believe JV or freshman teams. So
heavily represented international players. Of course, one of the things that you coaching staff has brought to Raven Gap to increase in domestic players. Here's a moment defensively for the Greenies. How about that? First takeaway for Christ School. They've been waiting for something to celebrate defensively in this contest. It would appear it is now there. Kelby Sullivan, a 10th grader, rises to the occasion.
Yeah, decided to throw it deep. He was right there, and good coverage and able to pick it off. Get it back to the Greenies.
The sophomore sitting back and waiting, and just inside 7 minutes to play in the third quarter, he has snatched the football back for the home team.
A good look at him there.
Well, so many of these players, we've talked about it a little bit, Tom, young in the early stages of their high school careers, so much room for growth. Flashes of brilliance there. It's going to be tossed near side, going to be Jackson Cancel again, and he's eventually covered up. As everything stops with 6:48 to play. Now there's another player down on the far side for the Greenies. Been a tough night in terms of attrition already for the Greenies, and a training staff going to be called upon once more. We will break away. Come back hopefully with good news for you once more on the training side of things. Well, a reminder, one of the great presenting sponsors of Friday Night Rivals, Carolina Furniture Concepts. Over $5 million of furniture in stock, ready to deliver to you. You can visit their nearby Arden and Waynesville showrooms, or you can go online at CarolinaFurnitureConcepts.com. Carolina Furniture Concepts, Ingalls, of course, Bojangles, all proud sponsors of Friday Night Rivals. 41-6 our score. We go back to work. 6:48 to play. That was Holtzclaw a little slow, it looked like, to get up, Tom, so there was some major concern once everyone realized who that was down on the far side, but he emerged to his feet. And after the 5-yard loss on the catch, gives way to Will Walker, the senior. Walker is going to take a lick of his own as he tried to cross the line of scrimmage. And he received every bit of what Caden Matthews was providing. Meets a freshman of his own.
Turn it up. Man, he got blasted. Tough game.
Caden Matthews, a freshman with that kind of size.
Well, they play aggressively on defense.
Going to roll this way. Holtzclaw back in the game. Looks for Blue Simmons. And it looks like that connection incomplete. So 4th down coming, still behind the sticks. Christ School getting set to kick it away.
Yeah, a real difficult situation with Holtzclaw coming out. And he is predominantly most of the snaps the last couple of years. And got it placed in a very difficult situation there. Now to kick it away.
Josh Buckhalter, who has the last 2 touchdowns, is back alongside Walker Bryson in an effort to return the kick, and they stand right at midfield. Timeout having been called for by the Greenies with 5:56 to go in the third.
Yeah, just couldn't get lined up correctly and had to call that timeout.
On what was a 4th down?
Yep.
Said
Punting
kick it away.
situation,
Yep.
just a little bit of a mix-up there.
Well, Tom, the start tonight of our North Carolina slate going to be at Brevard next week. And on down the line it goes, taking you into the month of November here in 2024 on Friday Night Rivals. Of course, that will be Irwin visiting Brevard next week. Certainly something to look forward to there on Friday Night Rivals. It's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, all the way to the first day of November this season here in 2024. South Carolina getting underway last Friday night, that portion of our schedule. And then, of course, the North Carolina portion underway now. We'll be bouncing back and forth across the state line. Mentioned Brevard. It goes at Irwin, at East Henderson, Gaffney, Chase, Asheville, Hannah, Spartanburg, and then everything closing up on down the line to start the month of November back here in the state of North Carolina. Here's the return. Plenty of room for it, and finding all kind of wide open real estate near side. Boy, can he weave through traffic.
Oh, man.
Walker Bryson with the united touchdown. Now, a lot of flags coming in at the very end of this, so we'll see if his return does stand. But it would be Walker Bryson's 2nd touchdown of the night, the first on special teams for him, and would run the total to 47-6. But everybody working their way back toward midfield, so we'll see. 2 flags are down near the middle of things. Let's see here. Well,
hey, yeah. They're still talking. I tell you, Walker Bryson, there are a lot of really good players on this field tonight, but he's been impressive. Catch the football, return.
Certainly has.
Very long conversation ongoing. There were 2 flags, I believe. One of them came late, and I don't know if that had to be a sideline situation over there or not.
Well, it was late, and he knows that 6 points are hanging in the balance. So it appears as if there are going to be offsetting penalties, but they're going to reset the 4th down play and kick it all over again.
Okay.
So even though the flags came at the very end of everything, it looks like whatever was spotted was on the front side of everything, and we reset.
Yeah, I think a little extracurricular over there on the far sideline, and a couple officials spotted that. And
after all that, returning to their prior spots, Walker Bryson.
And you had mentioned,
and Josh Buckhalter back there.
That's 2 pretty good return guys.
Well, and when they're setting up with their feet on your side of the 50, that's never a good sign. And that's the case for Christ School right now. Greenies will opt to kick this out of bounds, and Rabun Gap to take over. After all that, 5.5 roughly remaining in what is a 41-6 game. And Gavin Owens giving way to Kingston's Paquette a bit ago. Anthony Quinn Jr. giving way to Luca Walden. And here's a chance. And there's a lot of football left in this game, Tom, for valuable experience to be gained.
Well, and you look back, this is a team that played on Sunday, and not much of a turnaround in regards to usually preparation. On Friday night, you usually get that film. You're at it on Saturday and can get a lot of stuff maybe set up to ready to go on Sunday and get it in on Monday. So a little bit different situation, but they've handled it well.
What Coach White tell us, had to remind myself all week, he said, that we were doing a day shorter than usual. Going to end up keeping it on that far sideline. Nady Pham the recipient here. Trying to set up the screen for Pham. Worked pretty nicely as he has the movement of the chains. Fresh set and a first bank red zone opportunity once again. First bank, 21 locations in Western North Carolina and the upstate to serve you. Everybody touching the football, serving this Rabun Gap crew well right now, and into the end zone with a touchdown. On the ground this time, the job is done as Luca Walden, who has handled the majority of the snaps from running back position now since he came into the game alongside the new QB Paquette. That group working together nicely, and he has his first touchdown of the night.
Tell you what, he's a nice looking player as well. If we get a shot at that maybe a little bit later on, the number of cuts that he made in traffic to provide that opportunity to get into the end zone was impressive.
Much like what we saw on the kick return that was not a moment ago from Walker Bryson, right?
Yeah.
Extra point true. Takes it to 48-6 with 4:58 now left to play in the third. And this Rabun Gap team on a mission in their third contest of the year. And on a mission with this carry, Luca Walden brings it home.
I tell you, we got the look at it on the 2-3 cuts there in traffic, and it really did look a little bit like Bryson on some of the cuts that he's made today, particularly on that last one that was called back. So, I mean, in all phases of the game, return game, and they've been impressive offensively, and then in defense, they come up and get you. There's a reason that they're ranked as high as they are, and that matchup with the Baylor school, a couple of top 75 teams in max prep.
Couple of plays, 27 yards, a 17-yard run, capping it for Luca Walden to run it to 48-6. And now the ensuing kickoff just moments away. Mentioned the mixed returns for this team through the first couple of games, playing a brutal schedule in the early part of the year and answering the bell tonight offensively for sure. A little bit of trouble with it right at the front of the goal line. That's going to be a touchback when all is said and done. The touchdown's a 12-yard pass after the safety, a 6-yard pass and a 8-yard reception, a 40-yard field goal, then passes of 57 and 6 yards. Those two, of course, the Buckhalter, now the 17-yard run as it makes it 48-6. Clock beginning to roll here in the middle stages of the third quarter now, with the separation where it is. On the ground with it, Greeny's rushing forward. You know, Tom, the elevated importance of each of these conference games on display, because unlike what you see regarding the majority of the teams that we'll talk about on our schedule this year, your chances are limited to come away with those coveted W's.
Yeah, they are, and there are only 4 teams in the independent school Western Division right now anyway, and so particularly this early on in the season to get one is very important, and maybe more importantly is to get one on the road as well.
Charlotte Day, Charlotte Christian, Christ School, of course, Rabun Gap, the two of those that you are watching here tonight.
Offsides against the Eagles.
An offside penalty that will be assessed against the Eagles.
You know, and Jason, when you talk about those schedules, I mean, Christ School, their next game is at AC Flora. That's a tough one. I mean, over in South Carolina, they're number 8 in 4A, and they'll eventually have to go to Providence Day. And if you're thinking about the Rabun Gap side, the next to the third to last game of the year as Providence Day going to Raven Gap. And then we've talked about those two last year, those two bowl games.
Yeah, don't shy away from playing that kind of challenge. Limited gain. Maybe wanting to track penalties. 7 of them 70 yards on the Raven Gap side, 6 of them 60 yards on the Christ School side of things. Yeah, this is a Raven Gap team that defeated 2 Georgia High School Association opponents last year and scrimmage Rabun County. And you know what that team has meant. We talked a little bit about that last week.
Yeah.
Coach Shaw down in Greenville having made the journey from at one point there in his career. They did that in the preseason this year in that scrimmage. So not shying away from playing the top teams in Georgia, not shying away from crossing the line into South Carolina in the case of Christ School, and playing against some of the premier talent here in the state of North Carolina as well. These are going to be battle-tested teams. Yes, they're loaded with all this, as we talk about it, Power 4 and even to all the FCS players that will be involved at the next level on Saturdays, but they're going to be tested by some of the great programs in these surrounding states.
Well, in Raven Gap with Derek White saying that's what they want to do. And same thing with the Christ School standpoint is you're going to get tested, and sometimes there are turnovers and as far as personnel-wise, and it takes you a little bit to get into it during the course of the season.
Fair caught at the 48-yard line, and that is where the Eagles will take over. Thought he had a great story in talking about how he landed. Of course, Derek White, that is, at Raven Gap. You know, the athletic director who started the program, his name is Dale Earnhardt.
Yes.
Folks who follow this program closely will know, and he's still on the staff. In fact, he said, you know, he'd retire if they ever won a championship, and that's certainly what Coach White is trying to attain. And he said, no, we're going to keep him around even after that. He said, but funny story, when I received the phone call, he said, I got the call, I pick up the phone, and it says, hey, this is Dale Earnhardt with Raven Gap. He said, well, I had been on a family vacation. He said, up in that area, and we had passed Raven Gap. He said, and I told my father-in-law, some others, that I was impressed with the school. He said, I told members of the families we were driving in the car, boy, that'd be a great place to potentially go someday. So then he gets this call right on the heels of that after they returned from vacation in western North Carolina and have passed through that part of Georgia. And he said, the phone call is, I'm Dale Earnhardt, and I want to talk to you about coming to Raven Gap. And he said, I hung the phone up. I didn't believe it. And I thought my family was playing some kind of joke on me. He said, but he called back. We began to talk. We hit it off right away. And the rest is history, that he landed in that spot that he had once kind of driven by and said that would be a great location for somebody to build a football program. Of course, you know his background. Greer High School, tremendous player there. Went to North Greenville under some of the guys making their mark in college football there, as we talked about a bit last week with some of those connections as well. Then he worked his way to a number of different coaching locations, one of which was that Christ Church team in South Carolina, such dominance under the Frost family. He's now making his own mark once more at Raven Gap. State championship at Ben Lippen, a journey to Mississippi and beyond, and back here, and he carries his team into the fourth quarter on this night with a 48-6 advantage, looking for a W in North Carolina. Head coach Derek White, who we just told you about, who took over in 2022, and his staff putting together a 48-point night and in command. You know, this staff told us that, there you see some members of Derek White's staff as well, and what a staff he's put together to get the job done. There's the head man who told us He said, we got to have you think about the location, you think about so many tremendous athletes, you think about all the things surrounding the program. He said, my staff and I, we believe it's the best kept secret in the state of Georgia. Tom, suffice it to say on nights like this, a secret no more.
Yeah, they're good.
Georgia boarding school, of course, in Rabun County, established 1903, playing its 12th season of football. We mentioned Coach Dale Earnhardt, who's a part of that staff, who started the program and now under the direction of Derek White for a 3rd year. And it's been a dominant night for that group tonight. The surrounding cast into the game and keeping it on the ground as the running clock has been in effect since the mid-3rd. What you have to love about this, too, though, 3.59 team GPA. Yeah. Much like we always talk about every year when we come here to Christ School, they're doing the things off the field that matters. He said, we're built for ships, but what we tell our guys, use football as a vehicle to get you somewhere where you can do something amazing with your life. He's got a number of players that will do just that. On 4th down, the conversion made, and there's another movement of the chains. Going back to, and we've called his name a number of times since this second group on the depth chart came on. Nady Pham able to make the catch. And that makes another Eagles 1st down, and those numbers just keep on climbing. 220 plus yards at the half, and Tom, they're going to end up with much more than that with the way things have gone in the 3rd and 4th quarters in this second half.
And I'll tell you what, that's a nice pass. Had to drop down and kind of sidearm that to Paquette and got it out there and able to convert it.
Already knocking on the door of 400 total yards of offense as we speak, and a lot of time left as the wheels keep on turning and the legs keep on churning. Walden, who had a touchdown earlier on the ground, major 1st down gain. Going to be 2nd and short.
2nd down.
Again, we said it, 7 states represented, including the United States. More than 7 countries represented on this roster of 50-plus players for a Rabun Gap team with championship designs this season. Going to be a false start against the Eagles. Still a lot of early season stuff you have to clean up, right? But the coaches will be, and it's something you talked about early in this game, pleased with the response, which was the key word.
Yeah, they thought that last week didn't play all that well and gave credit, obviously, to Baylor School, but wanted to clean some things up, and they've done that tonight. And from a school standpoint, they're coming off a 26-0 win.
Let's check in field side with Nelson.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Jason. I'm standing on the sideline here with the head of school here at Christ School, Mr. Sean Jenkins. Mr. Jenkins, on behalf of my 40 and Friday Night Rivals, A, we thank you for hosting us yet again this year, and B, more importantly, we proudly present you a check for $500.
Thank you so much. So grateful for your appreciation and for your stewardship. Thank you for this check.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Back to you, Tom. Back to you, Jason.
Well, we do thank Sean Jenkins, his entire staff, and, of course, Josh Coley, the AD. So many making a night like this possible. And when you put together these kind of points, there's so many that make a night like this possible on the field. Here's the latest. That United touchdown, 1 to remember. How about this catch? Tom Van Hoy take one more look at the job done right here by Jay Rawls, the sophomore.
Just throw it up, go get it, and he makes a great catch. We'll see it here. I mean, it's good coverage. He just a little bit bigger and able to corral it there and get the touchdown call.
Well, a sophomore wide receiver used every bit of his 6'4", 175 pounds. Jay Rawls able to go high and make the catch. And it is 54-6. Well, scooped up. And this extra point try will be no good. 54-6 where it will stand. Thanks to this, how bright is the future at Rabun Gap? What a catch to put the latest points up on the board.
Let them battle there and able to come down and make the catch.
Well, our Henson's Mulch dirty jersey of the game. How about this memory? Sometimes it's on the tip. We saw that earlier. Sometimes it's right place, right time. And this is our Henson's Mulch and More dirty jersey of the game. We're going to give it to that secondary for Raven Gap when you consider how dirty their jerseys have been in action tonight.
That's Chris Hobbs, who was able to come up with. We saw Owen Madden earlier with one that started things early, but that was a fantastic catch there.
Well, and they weren't alone. Hobbs, Madden. When all was said and done, Corey Moss had an interception a little bit ago. So that group very busy. The secondary, our recipients of the Henson's Mulch dirty jerseys of the game. 7:44 as the clock, once it reinstates here, we'll keep on rolling with the gap having been created by the Eagles from Raven Gap. Greenies with the return. Up to the 15-yard line. Flags come in. Football on the ground. Maybe another takeaway. Let's see what the flag has to do with it. But the ball covered up by the Eagles inside the 5-yard line. Hold everything, though. A flag down at the 20 that must be sorted out. Well, turnover is one of the stories of the night, Tom.
Yes.
We just talked about the interceptions and our Henson's Mulch designation. And now you got the ball loose and bouncing across the turf. It will be, as this is against the Greenies. Football belonging to the Eagles inside the 5. Here's one more glance.
Yeah, trying to make something happen and then knocked out. It might have been Hobbs that got it again there.
A host of Eagles.
Yeah, good look there. You saw
landing on that at the 4. The penalty was a face mask that was declined, and once it all shakes out, this is another solid First Bank red zone chance for Raven Gap. Having already crossed over the 50-point threshold. Looking for more. Flags just before this play is off. Now with the separation between these two teams, a running clock has it winding on down even as the officials sort these flags out. Is the reason for, if you just happen to be joining us, you obviously can see the split in the score and why. Things keep on winding on a night that has been marked by the dominance of Raven Gap. Sophomore quarterback in there now, getting some looks, and they keep it on the ground. So many different players involved in things.
Well, I'll tell you, Christ School down big 54-6, but the tackle made there by Cooper Kirby, continuing to play hard. I mean, it's a difficult situation when you trail by this margin as the clock does wind down, but you want to continue to play hard.
Well, and you want to continue to make sure you designate Jack Shepard the ball carrier there, sophomore running back, 6'1", 195, getting his chance here in the latter stages of this game. These are, you never know when one of these players is going to have to step up. Valuable moments for them. Another dose of Shepard. The Greenies able to push him back just a bit after he reaches the 2, maybe the 1-yard line. And there, the senior to stand in and try and stop things. Abdullah Aladan working it for the Greenies. Here's the third down play. On the ground, right up the chute and into the end zone. He has a touchdown. Zach Shepard, who we were just telling you about a moment ago, the sophomore running back. Add Jack Shepard's name to the list as he has a United touchdown of his own. Well, tonight there have been a number of these. The United Federal Credit Union touchdown. All of our touchdowns tonight sponsored by United Federal Credit Union, regardless of who's responsible for them. And there has been a Rolodex worth, Tom, when you talk about the individuals that have contributed here, and what a great sign that is for Rabun Gap as the Eagles are getting everybody involved moving forward.
Yeah, and all positions as well to give them that kind of experience up the lights on a Friday night and give your guys starters a little bit of a breather.
Well, there will be a great deal of celebration on the journey home into the state of Georgia for a Rabun Gap team that really wanted to get the taste of the last one out of their mouth. They were dominant in the opener and now have bookended the first 3 games of the year with a couple of, that's the word, dominant performances.
Yep, they've got a really good chance to make another strong run in the playoffs again this year.
Well, and you're going to see a lot of these young men as their careers develop, doing things on Saturdays, dare I say, on Sundays in the future. Pretty good on this Friday night as the commanding lead grows. Well, late in the 4th here. Gives us a chance to remind you before the balance of this one that we will be at Brevard, being the land of the Blue Devils.
Yeah.
Next Friday night. That's a 7:30 start against Irwin. A September 6th showdown between Irwin and Brevard. Our next stop on the journey that is Bojangles Friday night rivals. Going to have Irwin the next couple of weeks. We'll then go to Irwin.
Yeah, we've been there.
On the backside of that. So trip to Brevard, trip to Irwin as we work our way into the month of September. Boy, think about it. Football freshly back last week. All the college football games and twists and turns that have already happened in a new look college football season. You think about the slate tomorrow. You know, fans from Georgia got their eyes on one, right?
Yeah.
Fans from our viewing audience got their eyes on one as well.
Pretty big game.
Tigers and Bulldogs going to tangle just after one more sleep for those of you that are fans on either side of that close proximity rival tomorrow. And that just kind of kicks off a big day of football around the country. Last night, a full slate of Thursday games. You know, your Jayhawks were in action last night. Yeah. Lindenwood, I believe it was.
Yeah,
that they were able to take care of business again. So it's going to be a busy, busy day. North Carolina successful. We talked about that earlier with a North Carolina commit in the game. They were successful last night. NC State held on against Western Carolina. The Catamounts from just down the road here gave them a scare. And in the end, the Wolfpack able to get the job done. So, yeah, going to be a big college football weekend. Go ahead and mark your calendar for next Friday night, though. We'll be back at the Friday Night Rivals booth with our trip to Brevard. Inside the final 2 minutes, Tom's your impressions of what we have seen from Rabun Gap tonight and what Christ School's got to do moving forward. A lot of season left.
Yeah, they took Rabun Gap took control early. Talked about how they're going to respond. Well, they did very well. They converted on a 4th down, and they grabbed an early lead and took advantage of a bad snap for a safety, and then also a tremendous diving interception. They were able to make a couple of conversions on 4th down on drives and able to move the ball around. And Owens was really good through 5 touchdown passes tonight. Their starting quarterback, and then got after it on the defensive end. Made things really difficult for Christ School here tonight. We had a couple of pretty good drives, but one of them was really big that right before the first half when they had that interception that turned around and ended up with a field goal to widen it out at halftime.
Will Walker getting some snaps in here at the quarterback position as things wind down for the Greenies inside the final minute. Well, we bring all that up. A reminder, stick around for all the highlights tonight. WMYA, WLOS from the high school standpoint. And you don't have to change the channel. Stay with these two WLOS, WMIA for a lot of that college football tomorrow, including that big one we were talking about. One of the reasons we headline it, going to be right here on the ABC side with WLOS. Inside the final minute, crossing over into the final half minute of what has just been an impressive performance all the way around. A little bit of everything. You said it, the 40-yard field goal, the safety earlier, the handful of interceptions, the fumble recovery. It all adds up to an all-around dominant performance. Loss of the helmet, but gathering up the ball carrier in the process with what is an exclamation point on this night for a Rabun Gap team. The Eagles making the journey over from Georgia, and they're going to head back with a second victory on 2024. All-around impressive team effort for his crew.
Yeah, it really was. Last year, 13-1, won their first 13 games, and actually won at Providence Day, 42-27, and in the championship game, lost at Providence Day. We saw them here last year. It's an outstanding football team. That final was 34-27 of the championship game, and they look like they have the makings to make another run this year and have an opportunity for a championship.
430-plus yards of total offense and 60-plus on the board. Big win for Rabun Gap. We'll be back to wrap it in a moment. Well, this was a night where so many playmakers on the Rabun Gap side of things that are going to be headed to Power 4, Division I, addresses in the future, came together to respond to what happened last week, knowing that they have a championship goal in mind in the present. And we saw that from them tonight, Tom, to the tune of a 61-6 win.
Yeah, I tell you, and it starts with their quarterback, Gavin Owens, who threw 5 touchdown passes tonight. The first 4 were to different receivers, and the way they were able to do it, to Willingham at 12, and Bryson 8, to Pritchett, the big tight end at 8, and then Buck Holder 57 yards to the first play of the second half.
436 yards of offense to 137 kind of speaks volumes, and it is time for the Bojangles Trophy presentation for the victorious Eagles of Rabun Gap.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Jason. This is the Coach's Corner, brought to you by Carolina Furniture Concepts. Well, Coach, first thing is first, congratulations on an astonishing win. Talk to me about your thoughts on the second half of the game, Coach.
We played a little bit better in the second half. They know that they didn't play real well in the first half. Short week. We picked it up a little bit and executed a little more. Glad everybody got to get in the game and show what they can do.
Now, Coach, you and I both know defense does win championships. Let's talk about the defense for a second. You guys had several interceptions. You also forced some 3-and-outs. Talk to me about the level of perseverance and, of course, patience that really goes into establishing a strong powerhouse of a defense.
Our defense played well tonight. They've been playing well all year. They bailed us out when we hadn't played well on offense. I'm glad that we don't have to go against those guys in games. We go against them every day, so they make us better, but they're really good.
Well, now, Coach, now that you guys secured the win, what's the strategy going into next week's game?
Win.
Easy as could be. I like your attitude, Coach. Well, this belongs to you. Congratulations, Ty!
He said when he came on board, they were built for ships, but he wanted to help young men use football as a vehicle to get them somewhere in life where they can make a difference and grow. Well, they certainly grew tonight to the tune of a 61-6 win, and all the goals still on the table. Your final thoughts?
Just an impressive game all the way around. They took care of business tonight. Price School just kind of got behind the 8 ball a little bit, couldn't get much going offensively, then lost their quarterback in the second half for a couple of series as well.
You're going to hear a lot more from this team in 2024. You're certainly going to hear a lot more from these players in their careers moving forward. Impressive performance and a 61-6 victory for Rabun Gap. A reminder, we'll be with you next week, coming your way from Brevard. For our entire crew working hard for you in the truck and beyond, we say thanks for joining us. Enjoy your football weekend until Bojangles Friday Night Rivals returns next Friday from Brevard.
This is the big time.